Yes.
Listen, I know we're having some technical difficulties, but throw a like to the stream. Why
okay,
not?
cool. Now that we sound good, we're gonna play the intro music one more time and make our entrance cinematic. Yes. Hello, welcome back to a brand new episode of the Pick a Side podcast. My name is Moran, and I'm here with Andrew Velez and Joe Dehls and John Tortorelli, and this is now episode 261. In this episode, we're going to give our NFL Combine Standouts, talk about Derek Carr signing with the Saints, Seahawks keeping Geno, Lamar receiving the non-exclusive tag, Derrick Henry trade destinations, and pose the biggest questions for every NFL team. I had a little bit of a brain fart there.
I was going to say, you forgot my name?
Yeah, you said my name first.
No, because I was trying to, I thought my mic sounded a little bit too loud. So
you were thinking and talking?
Yeah, as I was talking, I was thinking, you guys don't know I'm not good at that.
You can't multitask.
No, definitely not.
I cannot.
One of the worst multitaskers I've ever seen in my life.
I can't multitask.
Not your strong suit.
Yeah, let me say, bro, your hair is dumb long.
It is very long.
It is long, yeah. I know.
Probably the longest I've ever seen it.
Yeah, I've been growing it out.
Oh, really?
What do you intend to do with it?
I don't know. I'll probably get braids.
Tough.
I've already experienced the man bun already.
Uh-huh.
I was actually deciding on cutting it because it's getting a little bit too long to the point where it's like annoying me.
Okay.
So I'm probably going to keep it at like a good length that is
looks healthy.
Not too long, not too short. Yeah, it is healthy. Sometimes. My head be itching sometimes, but I'm not going to lie.
Understandable. How many times a week do you wash your hair, bro?
Every other day. Probably like
all
2
right,
or 3 times a week.
Great. That's great.
But for some reason, dandruff shampoo doesn't work on me.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just my scalp is dry or something. But it does suck.
Nice, man.
Like that. Yeah,
just wanted to check in, bro.
Looks good.
Thanks, bro. I appreciate it.
Someone said get a
How you got? I know Dehls is going to Boston tonight.
Yes, sir. If you guys, anyone can be at the Boston game tomorrow, I'll be there with my girl, Boston Blazers. Crazy because I haven't watched the Celtics for the past week, so I'm just going in with fresh minds. I don't really know what's been going on lately. I've just been busy, haven't caught any of the games, so I'm excited to see them first time in person.
Guy's shameless, bro's like, oh man, I'm so happy for all this NFL news, so we don't have to talk about the Celtics on a 3-game dumper. It's all right, bro.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
And of course, today we have John. We've seen the comments. We're clamoring for John.
No Riv, unfortunately, today, but I'll be here momentarily. And by the way, the Celtics are on a 3-game losing streak.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
Nice.
Probably just, regular losses. Just Tatum. I saw Tatum missed a game, right? So
I tell you what,
bro, they might be frauds. I think
I think so.
You might be right.
Bro, perfect timing to not watch. Honestly,
I haven't watched.
Perfect timing to just pretend like the Celtics
I know
don't
we're
exist.
dealing with some injuries, so
got it.
I was you know what? I'll just when we're healthy.
To their credit, they're one of the best teams in the league when they're dealing with injuries. Grant Williams should stop talking trash before.
He's gonna make both of them.
I don't even know.
He's gonna make both.
Pulled a Ben Simmons last night.
Lose to the Knicks. Lose to the Cavs.
What's the Knicks do?
No, bro. When I saw the clip of him in Donovan's face saying, I'm going to make both of them, and chokes not one, but both free throws.
And even the worst part is he missed that second free throw. Smart made an amazing play at the rim, and 9 times out of 10 that goes in and just rims out.
He tried it for sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah, John is here. And also, I see a lot of guys in the comments asking about John and how you guys like him on the show. John hosts his own podcast.
I do.
Yes, sir.
It's called the Wise Guys Podcast. I've been doing it for about 7 or 8 months. I have my own YouTube channel, but we're going to pick a side right now.
Nice. Respect.
But go show some love. John Tortorelli's
John
his
is very
YouTube page.
Respectful human being.
The Wise Guys, him and his boys do a great job. So go give him.
One of your boys on the podcast was tweeting at me because one, he was not happy about my opinions on the draft and the quarterbacks. And
BC?
Yes, BC, facts. And then he also he just liked one of my tweets about Daniel Jones, but then goes and proceeds to tweet about how this is one of the worst contracts he's ever seen.
He's a Patriots fan.
Massive. Got it.
So you thought he was supporting at first?
No, I knew he wasn't.
Well, settled jab.
From the get-go.
I respect it.
People think they love you.
Good conversation, of course.
So now, Boom Fantasy picks for today. You guys know we always give our Boom Fantasy picks.
Stinker lately. I've been so bad.
Every day of the week. You guys know we give our picks. So today's picks, I have them right in front of me. Let me just pull them out. Okay, so today's picks, I have Mikal Bridges over 25.5 points
I like that.
at the Houston Rockets. Mikal's been averaging 26 since joining Brooklyn. And, I put in a little 3-game parlay. I put Mikal, I put Nets money line, I put Mikal 2 threes. I got some parlays cooking up. But I think Mikal on Boom Fantasy, 25.5, that's a good line. I'd take it. Now, Drew, what's yours?
So in the last 4 or 5 games, Mark Williams has had a double-double. And right now his over-under is at 20.5 against, I believe, it's the Knicks, yes, because the Knicks go for their 10th straight tonight, and of course, that'll be electric. But nevertheless, Mark Williams has been very good for the Hornets as of late. Definitely happy to see that, especially as a young guy. He struggled to get consistent minutes, but now that Plumlee's no longer on the team, Mark Williams has been consistently getting his, and he's been playing very well. So 20.5, as long as he hits that double-double like he has had in the last 4 or 5, then I'm expecting that to hit for sure. I've been slumping badly.
They're on 3-game.
3-game. Yeah, no,
I've
been
you're on it
terrible.
too, right?
Not yeah.
He's been stuffing the stat sheet.
I'm on a slump too.
I guess, I can't go too wrong here because Riv's all the way at the bottom of the leaderboards, huh?
Are you picking for Riv today?
I might as well. So I'm going to go with Bobby Portis over 16.5 points.
Okay.
No
Smart.
Drew Holiday, no Giannis Knight versus the Hornets, correct?
Versus the
Magic.
versus the
Oh,
Magic.
it's the Magic,
Yes.
right? Versus Orlando. And then I'm also going to go over on Brook Lopez rebounds at 7. Chris Middleton's on that minutes restriction still, not playing over 30 minutes. His line's at, what is it? It's 18.5 points. I would go the under on that. I wouldn't want to touch him right now.
Yeah, I agree.
Those are
I have
consistent.
similar ones to you. I have Bobby Portis on a 2-game parlay. His points and rebounds, I got the overs on those. Whenever he plays over 20 minutes, he averages like 18 and
Bobby
12.
Portis is nice.
Yeah,
He
that's
has
why
to
I'm
be a
gonna.
leading candidate for
I
6
definitely
man.
have him. Let's read some
How
super
many
chats.
leading candidates are there for 6th man of the year, John?
3.
Is Emmanuel quickly one of them?
Yeah, IQ,
All right.
Brogdon, and who?
And Bobby.
Portis.
Do you think that
Bobby just
IQ
missed some
He's
time.
probably like a third. He's
Bobby
probably
missed what,
like a
2,
tier
3
4.
weeks?
I believe so.
Yeah.
About maybe a little bit more.
I was gonna say IQ
I
plays.
think it was over a month.
I was gonna say I remember him being out for a while. I had him in fantasy basketball in our Through the Wire league, and of course the 6-man show.
Do you think that IQ is going to win over Brogdon?
He's the favorite now, isn't he?
After he played 54 minutes and was absolutely all world against
I'm pretty
the
sure it's like
Celtics.
the same line. At least on FanDuel when I checked, it was
Even?
the same line. Yeah.
I don't know, bro. IQ has been phenomenal.
Bro started, put up 40, and then his 6th man of the year. Like, how the fuck does that work?
Riv's pick is Rudy Gobert over 1.5 blocks versus 76ers right now.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. So you guys can go use code PAS on Boom Fantasy and play there. It helps the podcast a lot. Now let's read some super chats here because we're getting some donations, and then we're going to start the show off. You guys know that we're going to talk about Daniel Jones and all that good stuff. So first super chat, Dehls, enjoy the Boston game with your hopeful future fiance.
Appreciate it, Brody. we're gonna have a blast. I appreciate it.
For a second, I was like, Chelsea must have sent that one. That is funny though.
Next super chat, Charles Gibson. Bryce Young weight is going to hurt him.
He's 204. I mean, that's fine. That's more than okay.
I was gonna say, honestly, I was pleasantly surprised that he came in at 204. He probably won't play at 204, but the fact that he weighed in on it, as long as you have a precedent, Kyler 207, Bryce 204, it makes teams feel a bit better.
I agree. I mean, I think Bryce Young has showed on tape that he could play and that he's a good thrower, a great thrower of the football.
No one ever said anything wrong about, or no one ever said anything negative when Arizona wanted to select Kyler number 1. So why is there suddenly this big stink about people wanting Bryce Young to go number 1? I don't understand. It's not like he wasn't an elite talent every single year that he's been at Alabama. So that's the only thing I struggle with.
I think Kyler's in another tier, personally.
I do think he's
no, I don't disagree. But at the same time, we can understand what Bryce Young did with Alabama in the 2 years that he started.
Yeah, that's true. I just think what hurts Bryce is that this quarterback draft class you have CJ Stroud, who's a polished quarterback.
Understandable there.
Then you have Anthony Richardson, who has the upside of all the elite guys in the league. If Anthony Richardson pops, then he's better than Bryce Young. I'm sorry. If they both reach their ceiling, I think Anthony Richardson is better than him.
I understand what you mean.
Sure.
Where that draft, there was
Different
Kyler,
floors.
Haskins, Drew Lock, and Jones. The quarterback selections weren't as great.
Number 1 overall, though, there was no
Yeah.
issue.
They were coming off a season where they had Josh Rosen, and Kyler just was. I feel like people have revisionist history when it comes to Kyler Murray and how great of a quarterback he is.
Oh, I could not agree more with you.
I am not the biggest fan of Kyler. You guys know
Facts.
that. But Kyler Murray was an MVP candidate in his second season with Cliff Kingsbury, a coach that we now know is not a great coach.
Also a Heisman winner, so it's understandable.
Heisman winner, yes. But not only that, this guy was a first-round pick in football and baseball. He was a 9th overall pick by the Oakland Athletics.
Correct.
Like, let's stop acting like this guy wasn't an elite-level athlete.
For sure.
And he's something different.
Oh, I'm with you.
His arm talent is better than Bryce Young's. His athleticism is better than Bryce Young's.
That's definite.
And that's the elite trait that Kyler had, where Bryce Young, like, he has a lot of great traits about him, but in college, it pops off the screen, elite ability. But in the NFL, guys that look like they have elite ability come and their arm strength is good. It's not exceptional or great. When you're compared with guys like Josh Allen and stuff, your arm strength does not look as great. And those are the elite level guys. And that's where I think I don't even think it's going to hurt Bryce Young. I think he's still going to be a top 5 pick.
Oh, definitely.
For sure.
Yeah. At the minimum, he should be top 3, I believe.
This from Santos Lopez Loyola, super sticker. Shout out to Santos.
Legend.
Santos fucking go.
And Orlando Martinez.
Another fucking go.
Shout out Kenny Pickett.
Shout out KP.
Yes.
The better quarterback got paid
And
today.
join us in Boom Fantasy. Link is in the description down below. Now, to start the show, the first topic we have going is Combine Standouts. We know everybody wants to talk about Daniel Jones and these contracts that happened. We're going to talk about them the very next segment, trust me. But first, NFL Combine Standouts happened over the weekend. Who stood out to you the most? I'm going to start with you, Drew.
So, obviously, Anthony Richardson was absolutely phenomenal. One of the most amazing athletic performances we've ever seen. Him running that 4.4, 4.40, him breaking the record for vertical at the quarterback position. And, of course, the thing that I was most interested to see was, how is he going to throw the football? I watched the entire tape. There was 2 throws that were not great. That means every other throw that he had, I believe, were either great or perfect. One was to the sideline, kind of floated a little bit too high, and then one of them was on the deep ball. Of his 4, there was one deep ball that he kind of just floated a little bit too long in the air. Other than that, it was a flawless showing from Anthony Richardson. I'm very happy to see that. Of course, people are definitely enhancing his draft capital, but I tweeted a little bit earlier that I still have him as my quarterback 3. I understand what you said was spot on. His ceiling is the highest of the 3. I just believe that after the tape and after the year that he had with the Gators, I just can't, off one showing on the Combine, move him above Bryce and Stroud, who I've just been, mostly Bryce, that I've been consistent on, that I believe is my QB1. But Stroud is probably the most NFL ready, in my opinion. I just saw what Stroud did passing the football at the Combine and this year with Ohio State, and that also allowed me to feel more confident in Stroud. He also put on a great performance throwing the football. The deep ball that he had, the first one, it looked like he was nervous for some reason to let go, but the rest of his deep balls were spot on. Dropped right in the breadbasket, and the receivers could have helped him out a little bit, make it look a little bit prettier by catching him. They weren't hanging on. Of course, JSN. Now the receivers, unfortunately, were underwhelming. But JSN, watching his release, it just allowed me to reemphasize my belief that JSN is my wide receiver 1. Yes, he may not be the fastest wide receiver, but that does not matter when you are an elite route runner. I remember watching the tape last season, and I'm watching Olave, and I'm watching Garrett Wilson, and number 11 standing out to me, JSN. He was phenomenal last year with those guys. And yes, it's unfortunate that he was hurt majority of the season. He wasn't able to really showcase the talent that we saw last season, but people are forgetting how great JSN truly was last year. So I'm expecting him to continue and be great. Nolan Smith, seeing Nolan Smith take himself from probably an early second rounder to probably, in my opinion, solidifying himself as a first round selection. That was excellent to see. He ran at 40 faster than a majority of the wide receivers. That was really great. Bijan and Jahmyr Gibbs, these are probably number 1 and number 2 running backs. Bijan was excellent. That was to be expected. But of course, seeing Gibbs run faster than Bijan, that also was to be expected, but it was great to see Gibbs really dominate in one of those aspects at the running back position. And lastly, low-key name, Chase Brown, who probably won't be that high of a selection either, but I want to give him his credit because undersized guy, 5'9" and a quarter, I believe, bench pressed 25 reps of 225 and had the highest vertical of all the running backs. So that was just something I wanted to give credit to, of course, because I understand that you have these low-key guys and they work hard. So to see him put that work forward was amazing.
Got to rename the Combine the Anthony Richardson Show. most
Dave.
athletic quarterback of all time, 10 RAS score. What he did was ridiculous. And I don't like people who didn't have Richardson or moved Richardson up because of the combine. If you saw him play, you knew he was crazy athletic. I was still surprised with how athletic he truly was. But the combine is just kind of difficult because it could always improve your stock to an extent, but more likely than not, it will kill your stock, right? That's typically what happens. The combine is not something that it seems like over the years has become less valued by GMs and front offices. I know there's a lot of guys and coaches and front office guys that don't even attend it anymore. Obviously, I'm sure they still watch it on TV and whatnot, but it's interesting to see how it's changed over the years. Some of the other quarterbacks, I thought they all had a really good day. At least the top guy, CJ Stroud, throwing the ball was extremely fluid. Absolutely. He has maybe the quickest throwing motion I have seen as a quarterback coming out of the class. I mean, him compared to Justin Fields is night and day. Fields really drops that elbow and goes all the way down. CJ Stroud, his elbow basically stays at his head the whole time. Extremely fluid, extremely quick. I think he has the highest floor in this class. His upside still to be determined. Really depends on what CJ Stroud we get. Is it going to be the Georgia one that we saw in the playoffs where he was an athletic freak, or mostly for the previous 2 seasons where he didn't use his leg too much? Bryce Young, I thought obviously wasn't there or didn't perform, but 5'10", 200 pounds, I thought that was a win for him. I thought there was a strong chance he was coming at 5'9". Bama listing him at 6 foot was always ridiculous. 200 pounds, being over that 200-pound mark, I think is important. As I mentioned in the beginning of the show, having that precedent, you can compare him to Kyler Murray. I do think athletically they're completely different. Kyler's a special athlete. Definitely. I think he's a better arm talent as well. But Bryce Young, his intangibles are off the charts. And that's something he definitely has over Kyler Murray. And then lastly, Stetson Bennett. He was another guy I was looking out for. QB5 is really up in the air. I know you like Hendon Hooker a lot. Stetson Bennett too. I think Bennett is just going to be a high-level backup type of guy. Probably be a day 3 pick, someone you'll develop. And if someone goes down for a couple games, he could step in and win you some football games. But I thought in terms of a deep ball thrower, he was one of the best we saw. The other position that really stood out with me were the tight ends. I know we talked last week how deep this tight end class is. They're deep and they're crazy athletic. Guys like Luke Musgrave, Darnell Washington, Sam Laporta. These guys are 6'4" to 6'6", 260, and they're running like 4.5s.
Will Mallory.
So you have, historically, you have to be athletic to be a good tight end.
Definitely.
And all of these guys, I mean, we're going to see 5 guys drafted in the first 2 or 3 rounds at tight end. It's really needed, right? Tight end has been one of the positions that have been dying over the years. We have the elite guys still with Kelsey, of course. But though that middling tier has kind of died out. So I never take too much away from the combine. It really either hurts or help whatever agenda you're going to push. If there's someone you love, you're going to push something they did well. Someone you hate, you're going to push something they didn't do well. But overall, I thought the quarterbacks were all really impressive, and the tight ends were more athletic than I was expecting.
I want to shout out Christian Gonzalez out of Oregon. As a Steeler fan, I've been spying up these cornerbacks, saying it's going to be Joey Porter. Which one of these guys is going to be available for Pittsburgh right around 20? Gonzalez, 4.340, had himself an absolute phenomenal day.
Unbelievable.
He's not going to be there for the Steelers, unfortunately. And for all of these cornerback needy teams, whether it's a New England, a Pittsburgh, all of them in the top 12, man, it's going to be one of those drafts where quarterback a little more up in the air, but the depth, like you mentioned, at tight end, cornerback, defensive line as well. Nolan out of Georgia. I mean, this is one of the best draft classes I think we see in terms of the depth across the board at different positions.
Okay.
Wide receiver is a rough day, clearly, but JSN, Jordan Addison, those guys are great football players. I'm not overly fixated on what 40 they're running because we've seen them produce at college, especially with Addison. I'm a little bit higher on him than most people. Maybe it's because I'm a partial Pitt fan. But yeah, also Anthony Richardson. I like to compare Richardson a lot to Cam Newton, right? Similar build, insane tools, and Cam also lit up the combine. Anthony Richardson, right around the same size, both 6'4", 244, 248. Richardson's 41-inch vertical is 6 inches more than Newton, and he also ran a 4.4. Newton ran a 4.56.
I was going to say facts.
So that is absolutely insane. Like you said, I mean,
Anthony Richardson, big body and he can move.
If he can just knock these team interviews out the park,
which it's sorry to cut you off, but that's what it sounds like. Apparently he's been the best interviewer at the combine.
For as much as people laugh then say, oh, okay, here we go. That matters a lot for teams to see what you know, what you don't know, if they can work with you, their coaches, their GMs. I do.
Yeah, a little static.
If he can just knock that at the park, it's not crazy to say he's the 2nd overall pick in this draft. Or the 3rd overall pick, depending on who trades up and what happens. Obviously, the Texans at number 2, so we'll see what happens.
And before you go, Joel, the combine matters. We saw John Ross go from not even being talked about in the first round to being selected in the top 10?
Yep.
because he ran the fastest 40 time of all time. Of course, you can't teach speed. That's God-given. That's one of the most impressive performances we've seen, of course. But the Combine matters. And if you absolutely go crazy in the Combine, people start to chat, and other teams are going to try and be quiet and sneaky of trying to select these guys. But you can't be sneaky when it comes to potentially drafting your franchise quarterback. And if people are super high on Anthony Richardson because of the ceiling, which is understandable, I believe that of the 4 quarterbacks that will be selected in the first round, the highest ceiling has to be Anthony Richardson because of his physical tools. But this Combine definitely allowed Richardson to solidify himself as a top 10 pick.
There was a lot of talk. You could just real quick. People thought the 40 were slower than, or excuse me, they were clocking the 40 slower than people were actually running it. I saw all over Twitter, people would have they would basically freeze frame it when the guy crosses the finish line. It would be at 4.36, and then on TV it showed 4.52. Right?
Sure.
Obviously, the 4.52 is not official, but it comes down as 4.49 or whatever. But I saw a ton of that on Twitter that the Combine times this year were off.
It looked like that when I was watching the film, that I kind of saw them. I'm sorry, John. I saw them finish around that, like you said, that 4.3, 4.4, and then suddenly it's at 4.53, 4.52. Yeah. I didn't understand why that was, but I'm glad that my brain did not fail me there.
In terms of Combine standouts, I think the biggest one is Anthony Richardson. And he's somebody that over the past, I think, month or so, I've been talking about to invest in Mojo, because he's up, crazy. I think, 50% in the last month alone. In the Combine, he went up $3. He went up from $21 to $24. And he's somebody that's going up right now. And later on in the show, we'll give you guys our investment of the week on Mojo, which is a player that I've been high on for a long time. And he's finally getting his chance to shine this season. Yes, I'm very excited for my man. So, listen, C.J. Stroud, I think, was the best quarterback at the Combine. I think Anthony Richardson was somebody that flew up the boards because of his athleticism. C.J. Stroud was the best passer by far.
100%.
Every throw was on the money. It was accurate. All his outs, they were on the wide receiver's right shoulder. Sure. He put it perfectly. That's something that I thought Will Levis struggled in. Will Levis was very inaccurate and spotty. C.J. Stroud just put on an absolute clinic.
Definitely.
And I think that right now, my quarterback rankings, number one, I think, is C.J. Stroud. I think that he's the best pocket passer in terms of just his mechanics, from his lower body to his upper body. I think he has equal floor to Bryce Young, and I think he has a better ceiling. And he's not the athlete Anthony Richardson is, but C.J. Stroud is athletic. And I think that he can create plays out of structure if he plays more freely and loosely. Number two, I would go Anthony Richardson just for the upside. I like quarterbacks with upside, and I think that if you believe in your coaching staff to develop somebody, then you go with that upside pick. And number three is Bryce Young, and after that, I don't even know if I like Will Levis, more than I like someone like Hendon Hooker.
There it is.
I love Hendon Hooker in this draft. I do. I really love Hendon Hooker, but C.J. Stroud to me was the best quarterback. Running backs, you mentioned the Jahmyr Gibbs and Bijan. Bijan put on an absolute show. I think he's not going to slip past the first round.
Oh, definitely.
He's going to be a top 15 pick in this draft. I think he's going to go higher than people expect.
I wondered, because when we were putting the tops list together, I wasn't sure if I should ask that question, but I'm glad you say that, because I definitely feel that there are teams in that top 15 that are going to at least consider the idea of Bijan, because of not only the boost that he gives you rushing the football, because of how great of a pass catcher he also is.
He made some crazy plays at Texas.
And he had, a 37-inch vertical also? The guy's just a freak athlete.
I mean, having a running back that's that elite on a rookie contract is. And I look at the top 15 picks, really, and let's look at, for example, I think a realistic, it starts to get realistic at 10 for him to get drafted. Philadelphia. Or do they go JSN in the slot if he's there, or Bijan? I like JSN in Philadelphia a lot. I do.
Smitty, though, they kind of already have a skinny. I mean, he could play. Smitty could play on the outside. Don't get me wrong.
I desperately want the Eagles to take Bijan.
Dude, it would be
that offense just becomes flawless. Yes.
Okay, if you're going to invest into a running back in the top 12, you might as well have that elite offensive line. And also, you have the committee. If you give a guy like Najee Harris 25, 30 touches, he's going to wear out by his fourth season. Yeah. With Bijan, give him 20 carries at max. Will have longer durability long term. That investment will be worth a lot more.
We saw Miles Sanders be overly successful at the running back position for the Eagles. Bijan is going to come in, and I'm very confident already. He will be better than Miles Sanders immediately. And what that provides to A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith and Dallas Goedert and also Jalen Hurts as a rusher himself, the offense becomes unguardable.
Yeah, I
That'd be the
think
best running game
Philadelphia,
ever.
they don't have much holes, and that's why Bijan is the perfect spot there. Look at Tennessee. Is it unrealistic for them to say, you know what, we're shopping Derrick Henry?
It's another team.
We're going to get picks, and we're just going to select Bijan.
It's another team.
That'd be funny.
They need too much, though.
The Houston Texans at 12 is interesting. You know, what if they go the potential route?
They shouldn't. They have Damian. I like Damian a lot.
What if they go Anthony Richardson and Bijan and
God, gotta go offensive
get it going?
I'm be a Texans fan.
The New York Jets at 13 is not realistic.
No.
New England, they love the running backs.
I do, but
they have Ramondre for another 2 seasons.
I think that's a JSN spot. I think he's very similar to someone like Julian Edelman, and he could definitely go to New England.
What's to the rumors of Mac Jones being traded? You're not buying into that?
No.
Understandable.
Green Bay, I don't think
No
they
way.
do it. Washington,
I don't
they have
think
Brian
so.
Robinson. Pittsburgh, they have
love to
Najee.
Najee.
Detroit's an option. It depends. I don't think they're on DeAndre Swift.
They're apparently out on him, which
Yeah.
is insane to me.
And Jamal's a free agent, right?
It's because he gets hurt. I get where you're
He
coming
has no
from.
vision. That's the other thing.
Okay.
Doesn't have any.
Can't hit
All
the
right.
All
Yo,
right.
John, well said.
He has. I feel like people overrate that. I feel like he has times where
It's not great,
gets,
Joel. It's not great.
It's not. It could be better, but he can make guys miss. I think he's good in space.
Super fast. He's a great pass catcher.
Yeah, it's just hard. I don't know. Then I look at these other teams: Tampa Bay, Seattle, Chargers, Baltimore, Minnesota. I don't think that makes sense, honestly. And if I was a coach, I know Bijan is a top 5 talent in his draft, but just draft the running back later.
Yeah.
I just draft
So you're out
somebody.
on it.
No.
On a first round
So
pick.
you think
yes.
he will be, but you don't want him to be.
No, I'm fine if he is. I think that it's
I only
just
say that because I'm
the
not.
situations don't sound likely.
Got it.
Like a lot of the top 15, the teams in the top 15, it doesn't seem like they're looking at a running back to spend that high of capital on.
And it's probably unlikely someone trades up for a running back too in the first round.
Oh, absolutely.
Wide receivers, to me, JSN was a standout. I know that he's not fast, but he had a 6.573 cone, 3.93 short shuttle. His agility is elite. So I think in the NFL, he'll make his money in the slot. That's why I compared him to Julian Edelman. He has that type of agility and quickness. He's not a burner, but he's going to beat you inside, and he's going to be a great receiver.
Mm-hmm.
This draft class, when we talk about receivers, I don't think there's a bunch of ones and athletic freaks. We had Jamar Chase and Jalen Waddle in 2021 who were freaks. Then Devontae Smith. You look back at 2019 with DK Metcalf and AJ Brown. You know, those guys are physical freaks. I think in this draft, we don't have that, but I see a lot of wide receiver twos that can be great in the NFL. I think Jason could be a 1, but I look at Zay Flowers. He has tremendous upside. Zay Flowers can really burn the defense, and he's a great route runner. He has tremendous hands. His tape is exceptional. I look at somebody like Jordan Addison, who he's good. I like Jordan Addison.
Slower than what you would like.
Josh Downs is somebody I'm high on as well. I like Josh Downs a lot. Jalen Hi-Hat from Tennessee, he's a burner.
He put on a great performance at the Combine also.
But the problem with him is his route tree, is that he doesn't win in any other way outside of a stack and go. So for me, it's can he win in different ways in the NFL? And Quentin Johnson is somebody that when he has a free release, he's exceptional. But when he gets pressed up, he doesn't win often. So that's something that I have a raised eyebrow about. And Marvin Mims I like. I think Marvin Mims is somebody that's going to be in the 3rd, 4th round who's an absolute burner, and he could really add some explosiveness to an offense. But the tight end standout, we were talking about tight ends. Dalton Kincaid, unfortunately, did not participate in the Combine. With Kincaid, he has exceptional athleticism, but he's undersized for a tight end. He's not a good blocker. So it's tough where he'll fit in the offense. Darnell Washington was the Combine standout at tight end. 6'7", 264 pounds, largest wingspan of any tight end in Combine history. 408 short shuttle, 3rd best of any player in the Combine. This guy's an athletic freak. In Georgia, he drops some passes. And the problem with him is that he's an athletic freak, but on the tape, he doesn't play like it. He doesn't play like he's 6'7", a freak in nature, has all this speed. He doesn't play like that at all. I'm still very high on Michael Mayers. It's Meyer or Mayers? Michael Mayer. I'm really high on Michael Mayer being the tight end number 1. I don't think he is exceptional athletically. But
he was still like everyone was just so athletic that he kind of went under the radar. But for what his size is, I thought he was an above average athlete and clears kind of the benchmark you're looking for.
Yeah, like I think in this draft we're gonna have 2, maybe 3 tight ends going in the 1st round. I think Michael Mayer is a 1st round tight end. I think Darnell Washington, based on this Combine performance, could slip into the 1st round. And I think Dalton Kincaid, Jeremiah had a mock to the Packers in like the 20s.
Yeah.
And that is a shock to me because Dalton Kincaid, to me, he doesn't feel like a first round pick. He feels like somebody in the late second round, but this tight end class is really good.
And Washington's going to come in at the minimum be an elite blocker. Yeah. They were showing him on the sled, bro. He like pushed the sled
6'7",
like 7 yards. Everyone else was doing like 1 or 2. He's like the passing definitely needs some work. Didn't get a ton of opportunity in college, but the athleticism there, the size is there. But at the minimum, he's going to come in and be a great blocker. It's basically having like another offensive lineman out there who can catch passes.
But for me, my draft crush, you mentioned Christian Gonzalez. He's going to be a top 10 pick locked. Kalijah Kancey out of Pittsburgh. He's drawing Aaron Donald comparisons because they both went to Pitt and they're both undersized interior defensive linemen. Kalijah Kancey is 280 pounds and ran a 4.67 40 time.
Yeah.
Kalijah Kancey, I was watching Hendon Hooker on film to see how I like him. It was against Pitt. Kalijah Kancey took over the game. I mean, every play he was in the backfield. Double teams didn't matter. He's somebody that I think is going to be very good at the next level, and I think will be a first-round pick. He is amazing. He's amazing, Kalijah Kancey. So my
they need to chill with the Aaron Donald comps, though.
Yeah, I mean, he could be elite at the next level. They're saying
Aaron
that the
Donald's
Eagles
probably the best defensive player we'll ever see.
I mean, I know, but athletic profiles are similar.
I said that we'll ever see.
Yeah.
All right. If you wanted to say he was the best ever, too, I'm not fighting it either.
I think the combine standouts for sure. CJ Stroud.
Definitely.
I didn't mention him at running back, but Devon Achane.
Okay.
4.3.
Yep,
he ran 4.3. Yeah,
no
he
doubt.
was amazing. I think JSN, Darnell Washington, and then Kalijah Kancey. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Eagles at 10 take Kalijah Kancey. Knowing that Javon Hargrave is going to be a free agent, Fletcher Cox is now older. They need somebody in the interior, and I think that could be a spot for number 10.
If Gonzalez is there, do you think that they take the corner instead just for the fact that Bradbury in his contract situation right now is not the best?
It depends. I think Gonzalez will go before then, though.
Okay, I just say that because I know they're 10 flat.
Yeah,
so
I think that they would definitely look into Christian Gonzalez. He's an elite level prospect. If he falls there, I'd take him in a heartbeat.
Yeah, there's a couple decent cornerbacks as well. So
yeah, Christian Gonzalez.
Gonzalez had the best showing at the combine.
Yeah, Christian Gonzalez has a 9.99 RAS score.
He did his thing.
Yeah, he's like top 1% athlete.
I thought Zach Charbonnet had a really nice day too, running back from UCLA. That third running back is kind of up for grabs. We have Bijan and Jahmyr Gibbs. But RB3, A-Chain is someone that I know a lot of people like. Zach Charbonnet, when I was watching him on tape, he didn't look exceptionally fast, but he's 6 foot 214 and ran a 4.53. That's plenty fast for me. So I thought he definitely, upgraded his stock this season, this combine.
So on Twitter, RJ Fisher tweeted us, and I was talking about Jordan Love. He tweeted under my tweet and said, "Let's go, baby. I got 32 shares at $6 and $7 Jordan Love, and he's up $223 on Mojo.
Came crazy.
Yes. So 32 shares, how much is that? Times 6. It's around probably like 180.
I was going to say, hey, good shit right there.
Oh, I got it?
Around that, yeah.
That's 190.
Yeah.
Around there. And he's up $223. That's one example of people making money off of Mojo. And that now heads into our investment of the week. I think we can all agree. Our investment of the week is none other than Jordan Love.
Gotta be.
It's simple. It's Jordan Love. And not only right now, you can get him on Mojo for $11.
You heard me.
I'm sleeping.
You have been sleeping
on Jordan Love
for a year.
Oh my God! Don't do this. Don't do this.
For 3 years.
Well, it depends how you define.
You
sleeping.
called us crazy for taking more to a year ago.
No, that is crazy.
No, it won't look crazy.
A year ago, yeah. I still would take Tua because I don't know what Jordan Love is.
You will soon.
Now this.
Big Jordan Love guy?
I will say that's not the example I would have used though, John.
Yeah, no, that is not the example I would have used.
But Drew did call him dog shit.
Oh no, it was during the season.
He was playing like dog shit.
During the season, it was us three.
I wasn't here for that.
And he was never playing like dog shit.
You guys took him over
He was
Tua.
terrible.
No, this was in the preseason when he had that game versus the Niners, the Seahawks, a couple of
like 2
interceptions.
plays.
I guess it was the 100K episode, right?
Yeah.
I thought it was during the season. Never mind.
Yeah, I mean, I remember before he made his debut against the Chiefs, you were like,
he was stinky.
Dog shit.
He was stinky against
the Chiefs. Were elite.
That was the week they suddenly decided to be the best
after that game. No, because Chris Jones moved from DE to DT. That's what happened.
Got it, bro.
I mean,
they made adjustments. Good for them.
Chris Jones, when he played at defensive tackle, they were an elite defense again.
Yeah, listen, Jordan Love looked like a completely different quarterback this year. Very limited sample size,
game.
but he looked
10
I know,
throws, right?
I know, very, very
He
small
was solid.
sample size.
Listen, I got
But
over
you
a
couldn't-
rack.
Couldn't have asked for anything more from what he did in that, garbage time cleanup.
Listen up, buddy. Jordan Love.
Don't look at me when you say that. 'Cause you
Mojo.
can't pretend like I'm not invested.
No, you are.
All
I
right,
know you're
just
invested
saying.
in, but we're not going to forget your past history and the slander.
Oh, eat it.
No way. Jordan Love, he's at $11 right now on Mojo. A month ago, I think he was at what, $7, $8? And
I told you.
He's in the past month, I think he's went up already 100%. But Jordan Love at $11, for reference, starting quarterbacks are typically $20 to $25 on Mojo. Starting quarterbacks that aren't proven. So once Aaron Rodgers gets traded from Green Bay, and it's likely that might happen, Jordan Love's price is going to skyrocket because he's going to be projected as a starter. And then if he plays well and is better than an average quarterback, he can go up to $30. So from $11 to $30, you're doubling your money. It's an easy flip, in my opinion. That's why I've been investing into Jordan Love for a while now.
And with how great Christian Watson looked toward the second half of the season, that little spurt we saw with them against the Eagles, if the Packers trade Rodgers, they're getting something similar to that Russell Wilson package, multiple first-round picks to invest into the offensive line, the tackle positions. You upgrade there, you protect him with Aaron Jones. That offense can be really good in 1 or 2 years, and his ceiling is really high. And that's why he was taking the first round.
How high, John?
Here's my issue. You guys were saying he was shit as if he wasn't sitting behind the back-to-back.
I don't think anyone ever said he was shit. I just think
you did.
People,
No, I know for a fact. I said that the tape that we saw, he looked like dog shit. I said that for a fact.
I always just thought you guys always hyped him up, and I'm like, he's been a backup. Can we?
Y'all said he was better than
No.
Drew, not seeing anything. That was insane.
This is the funny thing about Dehls here, is that Dehls would say he's a backup for a reason. And I'll be like, yeah, because he's under.
He's a backup.
Yes,
I'll
you did.
be honest.
Yes, you
I
did.
mean, but he also was behind Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's why I try to tell into Dell's brain.
No,
this is not processing.
I just didn't like having blindless hope in some guy you never saw play.
I did see him play
in college.
Yes, and I think that learning under Aaron Rodgers and a great coach in Matt LaFleur
should help.
Is going to help him develop.
I was going to say, is LaFleur a great coach?
I think he's a great coach.
I think he's a good offensive coach. I think so.
The number one way to develop is by getting reps. That's something he has not had really at all. So
he
gets that opportunity this year to learn by growing. He was not a ready-made quarterback coming out of Utah State. It's going to take him.
How serious?
Hey, it wasn't me.
That was ESPN. My apologies. He wasn't a day one quarterback.
Try to throw dirt on my name. That's insane.
So you give him 2 or 3 years, and he's going to shine.
Listen, I'm the Jordan Love guy. I know what it's gonna be. And it's gonna be shocking everybody else, not me. We know. And this ain't a Tua situation where he's mid. That's a real it's J Love we talking about. It's
Mr.
Jordan Love we talking about.
I think they have to decide on his fifth-year option this season.
On Tua.
We'll see.
I mean, they'll pick it up, I'm assuming.
We'll see.
Dolphins said, we don't need Lamar. We got our franchise guy.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
And they don't have any first-round picks to, trade.
It's also true.
So now,
I guess you could do 24.
Jackson goes, are you guys going to do your top 5 each position like last year? Guess we will. We'll probably get into those episodes starting next week. Now, let's go on to what just happened in the NFL. The Giants paid Daniel Jones and put the non-exclusive tag on Saquon Barkley, and we'll get into what that means in a minute. Now, Daniel Jones has signed a 4-year extension worth $160 million with $35 million in incentives, $82 million guaranteed, which means it's a 2-year guaranteed deal. The last 2 years are not guaranteed. And they gave Saquon the non-exclusive tag, $10 million in 2023 if he remains with the Giants. And Daniel Jones' cap hit in 2023 is going to be $18.5 million. So with this move, the Giants go from $44 million in cap space to a projected possible $16 million to $24 million cap space. So it gives them some flexibility to make moves. And they have 11 picks in this upcoming draft. Daniel Jones gets his $40 million guaranteed. Drew, what do you think about Daniel Jones getting this money?
So I was very adamant this entire season. I need Daniel Jones to get a contract extension from 30 to 35 million. I never, ever, ever touched that 4 number. I didn't want to do it because I understood that is for selective territory. However, now we live in a reality where the potential is there for Daniel Jones to make $40 million continuously for 4 years. Why this deal is not as bad as people are trying to make it out to be is because essentially this is a glorified franchise tag. Joel said that best, and he's 100% correct on that. The franchise tag this year for Daniel Jones would have been around $31 million, I believe. But now, instead of that, they're instilling a vote of confidence in Daniel Jones. Say, hey, we're giving you 2 years now. We're giving you the money that you wanted. Show it to us. This also allows them a little bit more cap flexibility, like you mentioned already. With Daniel Jones' cap hit, it'll probably be around, you said, around $19 million, which that includes Saquon's franchise tag already, which means that now they'll be able to be a little bit more active this offseason because there are rumors, potentials that receivers can be moved. DeAndre Hopkins, of course, that's one of those names. More so, I want to speak to the potential of what could happen on a draft day because last year, A.J. Brown wasn't supposed to be moved. There was no rumors of A.J. Brown being moved. There was no rumors of Hollywood Brown being moved. Suddenly on draft day, A.J. Brown, the bigger of the two, absolutely, but two big names at the wide receiver position were moved for first-round picks. Now, I don't see that being the case with the Giants per se. However, would it be insane to see them try and go out and get a DJ Moore potentially? Who knows that the Panthers are in the business of selling, but we don't know that whole situation. Chris Godwin on a team that right now, what's their direction in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? We really don't know. They just paid a receiver and Chris Godwin, but don't really have the quarterback that you can really trust, and not Kyle Trask. That's a joke. Is he one of those names that could potentially move? Mike Evans potentially. Understand that he's getting older. Is he not going to be? Is that not money that the Bucs want to allocate towards an older receiver? Although he's been the model of consistency, because you understand you need other assets elsewhere. So it's not insane to understand that the Giants needed to lock this down because what other options did they have? To stay where they are in the draft, hope for the best, and not have that quarterback, not pay Daniel Jones, and restart this process. When we did the show a couple of weeks ago, I said the exact same thing. It would take the same amount of time for you to build a championship roster or try and build a championship roster with or without Daniel Jones. So why not just bank on having the quarterback already? Understand that this guy was good enough to at least take us to the playoffs with a roster that was horrendous, one of the most overachieving teams that we've seen in a long-ass time, and win a playoff game. And yes, I'll use context because I'm not one that likes to shy away from the truth. That Vikings defense was atrocious. But nevertheless, what'd I say?
No, I just said Mike White.
Oh, no, what about him?
He beat up on the Vikings.
Oh, no doubt about that. He definitely did.
Games.
But at the minimum, Daniel Jones, in the biggest moment of his career, outside of course the Eagles where they absolutely got dominated. Eagles were a simply better team on both sides of the ball. But against the Vikings where Kirk Cousins is answering every punch that Daniel Jones is throwing at him. But that didn't stop Daniel Jones. He continued to overcome. He continued to get the ball down the field. Also, of course, Saquon Barkley now being tagged. You needed to bring Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley back if you were the New York Giants, because these were the two main reasons, the two only reasons offensively, player-wise, why you were able to have success. Let me not disrespect my boy Andrew Thomas, of course, one of the best left tackles in the game, but I'm talking position players, skill position players. Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley, the most essential pieces to the Giants having success, not named Brian Daboll, of course. But now your focus needs to be getting Daniel Jones a receiver. You cannot continue running out the same old wide receivers when they're the slowest group of wide receivers in the National Football League, when they run an average of a 4.7. You need to go out and be active. You need to put Daniel Jones in a position to be evaluated properly, because I hate this. He only threw 15 touchdowns this season. He only made 7 big throws according to PFF. Get him a true wide receiver and we can really evaluate. And of course, people like to mention the 15 touchdowns, passing touchdowns, but refuse to mention he had over 700 rushing this season. They refuse to mention that he would get into the end zone continuously as a quarterback. Daniel Jones is a fringe elite rusher at the quarterback position. And I say fringe because we had this conversation earlier. You have Justin Fields, you have Lamar Jackson. Those are the cream of the crop at the running back. At the rushing aspect of being a quarterback, no doubt. Then you have Jalen Hurts. Then you have Josh Allen, Daniel Jones, Kyler Murray. Those are the next 4 in that group. You need to include Daniel Jones when you talk about rushing quarterbacks. He's deserved that. And it's funny to me how a lot of these upper echelon quarterbacks get that credit and that nod of the rushing aspect to their game, but suddenly we don't like to mention Daniel Jones's rushing abilities when talking about Daniel Jones. All we like to do is mention that this guy is getting paid. He wants to get paid or did get paid this stupid number of money. Meanwhile, he only had 15 passing touchdowns. But how about, again, use context. Shout out to my boy Joel Moran and understand that he's throwing to no one. He made Isaiah Hodgins someone that we can sit here and talk about because they were that desperate at the wide receiver position. A guy that was a free agent was cut by the Bills, was picked up by the Giants, and Daniel Jones was able to have success with him. Bring him a true option so we can really evaluate. This is essentially a 2-year deal. The Giants said, listen, we trust you. This is our vote of confidence. Now get it done. But the Giants still have work to do because they need to put him in a better position to really have fans give him a fair assessment.
Listen,
I want to hear John. I'll be honest.
Yeah. John, I'll let you talk quickly. It's just, Drew name dropped me, so I should respond.
Context.
Right?
No, I said context. Joel Moran, that's you.
Even if you add in the rushing, it's 22 total touchdowns
and 3,900 total yards.
Okay, 22 total touchdowns. Is that moving you?
Not a ton.
Over 700 rushing.
That's the breakout year. 22 total touchdowns we're talking about.
At the quarterback?
And
that's crazy.
Listen, it's not, I have been like, people talk about me as if I don't like Daniel Jones. It's not
enough. I don't want to hear it. Your Daniel Jones card stripped.
It's just that I am someone that's very even keeled in these moments.
Cap.
Where I evaluate Daniel Jones fairly. You evaluate Daniel Jones so far out the spectrum where, yes.
I've never called him top 10. I've never called him elite.
You took him over Tua.
No, I did not.
Yes, you did.
Did you not take him over Tua?
You probably took Tua.
Nah, bro. I remember you taking him over Tua.
No, I did not.
I don't know.
Well, we could go back on the film and look at that.
No, I can tell you exactly what I said. With the fact that Tua's injury concerns are a strong question, that if you wanted to take Daniel Jones, it would be understandable. But what goes on in the football field at the quarterback position, I take Tua 10 out of 10 times. Respect
now,
me. Don't ever do that. It's my guy for life.
This is the thing about Daniel Jones. Yes, the wide receiver group is not good. It is what it is. I don't think Daniel Jones made those guys, though. And I think that you often try to say these quarterbacks make these players when maybe sometimes this guy just didn't get an opportunity. He was just having to be good. Because Isaiah Hodgins, as much as Daniel Jones made him, he was wide open a lot.
Yeah, and Josh Allen, he couldn't be successful.
He never got an opportunity. And who knows what went on in that?
Like Gabe Davis.
But who knows what went on in that building? But we're not sure what happened. But I remember you telling me Kyler Murray made Christian Kirk, and then he goes to Trevor Lawrence and has his best season of his career.
Talking about elite prospect.
I remember you telling me Derek Carr made Hunter Renfrow. I don't think he made Hunter Renfrow. Renfrow was just injured this past season.
He was lucky for that because he was not great by any means. Not even good.
I think that sometimes these players are just better than we expect. With that being said,
Kirk, one you got.
Are the Giants receivers good? No, they're not. I think this year, what helped them as a team is that they were able to run the ball effectively.
Absolutely.
Yes, you can point to Daniel Jones being one of the catalysts of their rushing attack and their offense.
Definitely.
But when it comes to you often like to prop up Daniel Jones as the nucleus of the offense and the reason it works. When I think it's easily Brian Dable.
You said I like to do that?
I feel like you give all the credit to Daniel Jones.
So you just capped.
Am I crazy for thinking that?
Not all of.
I appreciate that.
Credit to
every
to
single
Andrew
time.
Thomas to Dable. He gives Daniel Jones more credit than we do,
and that's it.
I think that for me,
I'm here.
When I think about the Giants and Daniel Jones and Brian Dable in the situation,
my name. Don't do that. Not with me.
I barely hear you talk about Brian Dable, bro. I'm sorry.
I said outside of Brian Dable,
we're talking about
players.
5 seconds to Brian Dable, and you talk about Daniel for 10 minutes.
It's a Daniel Jones topic.
It is a Daniel Jones
topic. Jones topic.
I'm sorry, but when I think about the Giants, I can go on for hours about Dable. Maybe I'll give 5 minutes to Daniel Jones. But he is the reason.
I have no respect
and
for
then Saquon Barkley being an all-pro running back again helped this offensive line. I saw there was numbers on Twitter about when Daniel Jones has Saquon and when he doesn't. And he's a significantly worse quarterback. That being said, every quarterback will benefit from an elite rushing attack.
Absolutely.
That is the case for everybody across the league. I think that for the reasonable price, the Giants can win with Daniel Jones. It might be difficult, and although this is a glorified franchise tag, I think they gave this contract to Jones because, one, they aren't 100% sure about him. That is number one. I think number two, they're giving themselves a 2-year window to try to compete right now. They have some cap space, and I think the first move I'd make is going and getting Jacoby Myers on free agency. That's a guy that I'd probably pay for And then they have 11 picks in the draft. If in the first round with 25th pick, they can get a Zay Flowers, you can now rebuild this wide receiver room, and you can see how Daniel Jones looks like with wide receivers. But I will also say that last year, the Giants won, I think it was 8 one-score games.
Yep.
That type of variance on a year-to-year basis is just not going to happen.
Mhm.
And it's very rare. We saw the
Just like the
Vikings.
Vikings.
Yeah, we saw the Vikings go from 7, 8 one-score losses in 2021 to winning those games in 2022. And then it so happened they were undefeated in those games. And in the playoffs versus the Giants, they lost the only one-score game and they had in the season. That was the first loss of one score.
At home.
Yeah, at home. But if you watch the Vikings, you knew that every single game of theirs is going to be about that. Like those final possessions, those plays that come down to the wire. It's been the case all season. But I look at the Giants and who they beat. The Titans, the Panthers, the Bears. It's not impressing anybody.
Titans were a good team early in the season. Respect.
That was week 1.
It was a big win.
And it was a
Go
field.
ahead.
Y'all won by the Giants.
That was funny.
Goodness.
I respect that.
The Giants won by a field goal. The Ravens respectable. The Jags respectable. And even the Jags, I mean, Daniel Jones threw, I think, a pick 6, and they got called back. I remember that game. The Texans, not really impressive. The Commanders, they tied with them before. Okay, when the Colts with Jeff Saturday, these aren't impressive wins. This year, you have at home, you have the Cowboys, Eagles, Commanders, Packers, Jets, Patriots, Rams, Seahawks. Better
Don't
schedule.
forget the Vikings, though. The Vikings are a part of those wins as
That's
well.
a fact.
You're right.
I'm just saying,
I just didn't mention
in the
regular season.
playoffs.
I didn't mention regular season.
It's
That's why.
heightened.
Yeah. In the
Respect.
playoffs, they beat the Vikings. Away opponents, Cowboys, Eagles, Commanders, so the division.
Yep.
Saints, Raiders, Cardinals, 49ers, Dolphins, Bills. This schedule is much harder in 2023.
You ran through pretty fast of some easier teams. Cardinals are going to be one of the worst teams. Raiders, we shall see.
We're not sure. If the Cardinals in the second half of the season have Kyler back, they can win that game.
With Cardinals with Kyler Murray, we're not that great regardless.
It's a fact.
And that's nothing against
They're
Kyler.
pretty shitty.
They're not good.
I look at the Saints. They'll be competitive. The
Defense
only
is
team
great.
really that I think
team-
won't be competitive is the Raiders and Cardinals.
Yeah.
And even then, we're not sure what moves they're going to make to improve the roster. It's early, but I'm just saying from just a bird's eye view, the schedule this upcoming season seems much more difficult. And I think that's why Joe Shane and Dable are going to have a 2-year window to try and compete as much as they can in a weak NFC. And they have 11 picks in this draft, so they'll draft those players, they'll fill up those holes. But we mentioned this earlier in the season. 2024 free agents, unrestricted. Dexter Lawrence, Xavier McKinney. They're going to have to pay them. Daniel Jones, we'll see if he plays great again this upcoming season. You have options in the draft where you could draft wide receivers or you can trade for somebody that's proven.
Fact.
You can go either direction. I'm just not so quick to just prop up Daniel Jones because he had a good season. I wouldn't even say great. I think he had a good season.
He had a good season.
And he's a quarterback that is going to teeter around the 15 to 20 range. He's not a great quarterback. He's a good one. If you have a great and elite level team around him, he could win multiple playoff games.
He didn't have a great, barely had a good.
It depends on
Listen,
your
bro,
opponents.
it's very simple. He did not have a good team this year, and he won a playoff game.
Well, he did have a great coach, a phenomenal coach.
100%.
You get
And
past
Brian
the
Dable.
first round, then
I
you have to play
think-
the Eagles, the Niners.
And
It gets
so-
tough.
Yeah.
I
You're right.
think we have to just understand how much coaching plays into this.
Definitely.
You have Brian Dable, you have Wink Martindale defensively. Those are two staples, and Mike Kafka, who could have probably been a head coach, he's their OC. They're going to have that. So, and I think that matters a lot. But the Giants have to build this roster up first because their cornerbacks are still lacking. They have no linebackers. I love their defensive line. They have good safeties in Julian Love and Xavier McKinney.
Offensive line needs work.
Yeah,
does.
and it
It
does need
does.
some work. Yeah, I agree.
Got to hope and pray on Evan Neal's progression because this rookie season was rough.
I agree, but
Happens
we
from
look at
time
the
to time.
Giants, and this past season had a bottom 20 defense in the NFL. Their offense was one of the better rushing offenses, but year to year, given Saquon's injury history, we're counting on him to stay healthy, no doubt. But we never know what happens in the NFL. We never know what happens.
It's true.
So I just don't know if this season is repeatable. I think that they caught lightning in a bottle. They wrote it out. They won a lot of close games. It's good for them. They had a fantastic season. But I'm not jumping the gun on this too much. I think that they have to still make a lot of moves to where I'm looking at them as a legit team in the NFC.
Theoretically, last thing I'll say, John, you can go. I apologize. Theoretically, this team should be better this year than it was this previous one.
Yep.
Theoretically,
Talent-wise, yes.
absolutely. The
Record,
team
maybe.
should be better. You understand that with a subpar team, you're able to win a playoff game. It simply cannot be the case that you saw you could have success with limited talent, that if you're the front office, you don't understand, hey, if we actually put pieces around these guys, maybe we can win 2 playoff games instead of 1. Maybe we can make the NFC Championship game if we make the right moves. But that's off the fact that we just won with mediocrity. Go ahead.
Coaching matters. That's half the game in the NFL. So what this means for the Giants, Jones gets 4 years, $160 million. When you see that number, you say, holy cow, that's a massive overpay, $40 million. But what matters is the guaranteed money. So the first year is only going to be a $19 million cap hit, which gives them the flexibility to give Saquon Barkley the non-exclusive franchise tag for $10 million. Now, the Giants got this off right before the 4 p.m. deadline, which was huge because Jones would have been the youngest quarterback to ever get the franchise tag. And like you said, Dehls, great point. So Jones this year, one thing we don't give him enough credit for is cutting down the turnovers. Just 4 fumbles, played in every single game, minus the week 18 game versus the Eagles. That was step number 1. He cuts out the fumbles. Step number 2, with a bad interior offensive line, he does a great job evading pressure.
Definitely.
And then step number 3, helping extend drives with their play action. Now, their offense was incredibly gimmicky, and that's where Brian Daboll comes in. He has the proven track record of whether it was at Alabama, whether it was in Buffalo, Josh Allen, and now in New York, everywhere he's went the last couple of stops, he's been to quite a few. He has taken that tutelage, what he learned from Bill Belichick, and helped apply that to the development of young quarterbacks. So for Daniel Jones, making him this highly paid for 2 years, like you said, a great point. They're in a weird stage where they should be rebuilding, but you win a playoff game is tough to tell ownership, or actually, even though we were one of the final 8 teams, we have to then take a step back. Now you have to see where we can build off of this. The next step in the draft is hitting on the wide receiver, because when you give Jones $94 million guaranteed at signing, $82 million guaranteed over 2 years, you still don't have an abundance of cap to then go out and get a DeAndre Hopkins. That's probably not going to happen for the Giants. So Saquon Barkley, the other layer of this too is, if another team wants to give him more money, he can negotiate and he cannot be a Giant next season. That's possible. Now, I don't know if any other team is going to give him more than $10 million, but that's somewhere in the realm.
Mm-hmm.
And the last thing for Daniel Jones, he's 25 years old. He's still getting better. So while we can bash him now, I agree with you. Daniel Jones, I don't think he's ever going to be a top 10 quarterback. I think he's too limited to throw the football, especially downfield. Where Daboll did scheme up a lot of open throws, but he wouldn't see them because Daniel wasn't even taking a lot of those shots unless they were wide open. And he has good receivers. I love the point you make. Isaiah Hodgins not a scrub. Brian Daboll and Daniel Jones both did a good job doing their own roles to help Isaiah Hodgins prove himself.
I'm proud of you to get that statement off without smiling. I'm proud of you. I really am.
I think he's spitting facts. I mean, Hodgins got open on film.
He was.
He got open.
He did.
And he got to hit those shots. So let's be honest.
He got open in the
Daniel
intermediates.
Jones,
and Daniel Jones hit him every single time. There's no deep threat on the Giants. 1, they're too slow. And 2, you don't have any guy that can be physical and you could trust downfield.
Well,
there
there
are multiple plays where receivers are open on the field and Jones has not.
You know what I remember vividly? The first one that came to my head. Darius Slayton, wide open on a deep pass, and it goes right through his hands and he can't bring it back in. I feel like I have seen that from Darius Slayton so
doesn't
often.
mean you don't
but
take the shots.
that's no. But why would you take that shot when there's a strong possibility? 1, you're not going to convert it. 2, why would you risk the interception when you could just hit the intermediate throw and continue moving the chains and waste clock? If you have limited options, you got to play smart. You can't take a risk and potentially throw an interception and turn the ball over because the receiver's not getting played.
Well,
2023.
An elite level quarterback's going to make that happen.
I don't know. I just don't think this is debatable. You know, Daniel Jones missed shots. It is what it is.
He didn't take them.
But again,
it's one thing.
Offensive line is not good. There's pressure in his face. He has to extend.
But
in that moment, yes, you look away. You're not looking downfield. You're focusing on evading. There's reasons why you miss throws. His offensive line, although Andrew Thomas is elite, there is not a lot of other support on that offensive line.
Sure.
Evan Neal was very bad for a rookie.
I think what you're saying is sound in a general and broad sense, but there are specific plays where those problems are not apparent. The offensive line is not the issue. The receivers are open, and he has time. He doesn't see throws.
Every week.
That's also happens. And I'm not going to act like I'm watching this all 22 because all I did was watch a Brett Coleman video, film analysis on Daniel Jones, and he pointed out a bunch of throws Daniel Jones did not hit. You know, this is somebody that I respect Brett Coleman's opinion a lot. So while Daniel Jones did play good, he also missed a lot of stuff. And even his analysis on Daniel Jones was that Brian Daboll made it really simple for him. So I know for me, I can't point that stuff out because I'm watching it from the broadcast view. I don't know what's happening past 10 yards down the field, but somebody who takes the time to watch the film like he does, I do respect his opinion, and I kind of take that into account. I think Daniel Jones is somebody that, as much praise as we want to give him, we also have to be realistic about who he is.
So Jones is a high-level floor raiser. He's a great game manager, but he's not going to raise your ceiling to the highest levels, and that's okay to accept. But it's an important thing for the Giants to monitor, look for alternative options. That way you don't become the Tennessee Titans.
And I think that's what the Giants did with this contract. It's a 2-year deal. That's all it is. And we said it, a couple of weeks ago when we were previewing or maybe just discussing the rumors that were going on around $45 million. And although you never wanted to give him $40 million on an annual basis, the worser thing you could have done, if that's a word, is pay him $32 million on the franchise tag, and you have no flexibility because since it's basically half of that at $19 million, now the Giants could actually make improvements to this team. But to talk about Daniel Jones and this contract, when I first saw it, 4 years, 160, up to $35 million in incentives. You sit there and you say, you're going to pay Daniel Jones maybe $50 million a year. That's not ideal. But then once the numbers come out, you get the guaranteed money. When the guaranteed money is, it's a 2-year contract. That's all it is. It allows the Giants to kind of see what they have in Daniel Jones, not have an extremely long commitment towards him. And honestly, I think with Brian Daboll, it's going to be pretty hard for Daniel Jones to suck, right? Maybe he's not going to go out there being an all-pro quarterback. He's not going to be a top 5 guy. But he's also shouldn't wreck your team, right? He shouldn't go out there and be Zach Wilson and be the worst starting quarterback in the league. So I think there's at least a floor we have with Daniel Jones now that the front office could pay him and say, we know if he gives us what he did last year, we're okay with that. Because like Drew mentioned, I don't know realistically what other options were out there. They're drafting in the late 20s. They do have some cap space, but now you're paying Daniel Jones. You were never probably going to let Daniel Jones walk and bring in somebody else. It was always Daniel Jones and maybe a draft pick or a free agency on a cheaper contract. And who knows, maybe they could be in the market for one of the high-level backups, although they do seem pretty confident in Daniel Jones, maybe bringing back Tyrod Taylor, who could make a spot start here and there. But I think overall for the Giants, it was the right move. If you want to bring back Saquon, you want to bring back Daniel Jones, this is the way to do it. You franchise Saquon. And I know there were some people talking about like the whole non-exclusive stuff. No, Saquon's going nowhere. No team is trading 2 first-round picks, which is basically what you would have to do to get Saquon Barkley. No one's doing that for a running back, plus paying him whatever it was.
So that doesn't change by position, whether it's a quarterback or running back. It's two first-round picks. Holy shit.
So no team.
I thought the other way around.
Yeah, no team is doing that for a running back, no matter how great you are. We're going to talk about Derek Henry later. He'll probably go for a 2nd or 3rd round pick, right? So I think for the Giants, I know I haven't been the highest on Daniel Jones over this past year. You still have to look at it realistically. He's probably the 8th or 9th best quarterback in the conference, in the weaker conference with the weaker quarterbacks. He's going to be the 3rd best quarterback in his division behind Jalen Hurts and Dak Prescott. So for the Giants to really make noise in the playoffs, they're going to have to make drastic improvements on the defensive side of the ball, I think. If this defense isn't elite, I have a hard time seeing them really winning multiple playoff games, getting to a championship game, maybe getting to a Super Bowl. They'll be competitive. They'll be in the wild card race. Maybe some unfortunate things happens to Dallas and the Eagles, and they could squeak by and win 11 games one year and win a division, right? But it is hard to see Daniel Jones, like you mentioned, John, raising the ceiling of this team and becoming a 4,000-yard passer with 30 touchdowns and getting MVP votes, which is basically what you're expected to do at $40 million. This is basically the Dak Prescott contract from a couple years ago. It's 4 years, $160 million. We know Dak Prescott had proven so much more than Daniel Jones did at the time. It was just unfortunate timing for the Giants. They had to pay him now or else he would walk in free agency. But I think for the situation they were in, which I've been saying basically for the last 3 months, it's a less than ideal situation having to pay Saquon and Daniel Jones with all these other holes. I think they made the best out of a bad situation.
What they did is what they had to do. That's really what it comes down to. What they did is what they had to do. They could not draft a quarterback. They couldn't. The only way is to go forward.
And that's the shit that kills me. It's like everyone's having a coronary on Twitter. It's like, what did you want the Giants to do? Because you let Daniel Jones walk, right? And then you're happy about that. But then the Giants suck. What are you going to do? You're going to get on Twitter. You're going to use your fingers, and you're going to type away saying how bad the Giants are. You should have kept Daniel Jones. There was no win-win here. Daniel Jones needed to get paid. The Giants messed up last offseason by not accepting his fifth year option in hindsight. We can understand that at the time, sure, he wasn't deserving of that 5th year. But in hindsight, they messed up by not accepting that 5th year option. Now they put them in this position where they were handcuffed. you had to pay Daniel Jones because you legitimately had no other option. So that's the only thing that bothers me about that situation is just like everyone has an opinion, especially when it comes to the Giants and Daniel Jones. So just understand that there was limited that the Giants could do, and they did exactly what needed to be done this offseason so far.
Now, another player that got paid was Derek Carr. Now, Derek Carr had a couple teams he could choose from, 3 notably, the Jets, the Saints, and the Panthers. And he signed with the team that he visited before he got cut from the Raiders, which was the New Orleans Saints. I don't know about you guys. I'm not very high on this move. I'm not very high on it. I understand why he made it. And you look at Derek Carr, 4-year, $140 million contract. He's getting paid around $37 million a year. Derek Carr has a relationship with Dennis Allen. He met with the Saints before he had signed there, so he knew what the culture was around it. And just let's talk about the teams that he was picking between, the Panthers and Jets. As much as the Jets have made progress in these recent years, their roster is still extremely young. Their offensive line is a question mark. Robert Saleh's track record as a coach, and if he's going to be a great one, is still a question mark. And 2 good years from the Jets, and I would say really 1 good season, does not diminish what has been a decade-long reputation of what we've been. So Derek Carr choosing the Saints, I think, was also, from an organizational standpoint, I trust the Saints with Mickey Loomis more, somebody who's been magically able to work with cap like a magician.
For sure.
Every single year. He trusts Mickey Loomis more. He trusts Dennis Allen, his old coach, more. And the Saints are a team that's ready to win now. Despite the Jets and, their record before they lost 6 in a row, the Saints are a team that they have veterans. They have a team that they want to win now. And that's why they keep prolonging these contracts, because they believe they can win. You look at the Panthers, I love their coaching staff, but they're just not complete yet. There's still holes on that roster that need to be fixed. And that's why I think he picked the Saints. And an interesting stat about the Saints is that since 1993, Saints have had 472 quarterback starts from quarterbacks not drafted by them. Looking at the Saints offense, Derek Carr, Alvin Kamara, Michael Thomas, we'll see if he's back, Chris Olave, their offensive line ranked 29th. They had a lot of injuries.
Oopsie.
The Raiders' offensive line ranked 10th. 9 different players played at least 100 snaps for the Saints last season at the offensive line. And only 2 had above average PFF grades, and Ryan Ramczyk and James Hurst. I think offensively this is a good fit with Pete Carmichael. I think Derek Carr he's great under center. Since 2019 under center, he's 5th in QBR. He's 2nd in completion percentage. He's tied 7th in passing touchdowns. And Carr has had the most touchdowns. He had the most touchdowns over 30 yards in 2022. He was 3rd in QBR under pressure. And since 2014, he has the most game-winning drives of any quarterback with 33. And he finally has a great defense. I know the Saints defense took a step back, but last 3 seasons, 2020, 5th ranked defense, 2021, 4th ranked defense, 2022, 9th ranked defense. And in the second half, they were really elite. Derek Carr has a great organization. He has a good offensive supporting cast. He has an elite defense. I think this team will win games. Where I don't like it is that I saw the Saints last season start Jameis Winston, and very quickly it was apparent Jameis Winston was not good. Sean Payne hit a lot of things in Jameis Winston's game that were fatal flaws, and you saw that. Andy Dalton was not bad last season. He had 18 touchdowns and 9 interceptions, had a 95 passer rating. And in terms of what Derek Carr brings and what Andy Dalton brings, Derek Carr in 2022 had 24 play attempts plus scrambles on broken plays. Andy Dalton had 25. So in terms of them as quarterbacks and able to create out of structure, they are similar. So the difference is going to be how much can Derek Carr offer that's much better than Andy Dalton in the pocket. This past season, Derek Carr was 13th in EPA per play. Andy Dalton was 20th. So while I do think Derek Carr is better than Andy Dalton did play well last year. And for this move to have a huge impact on the Saints, Derek Carr is going to outplay him by a wide margin, and that's still to be determined. I think the difference between Dalton and Carr is that Andy Dalton, under intense moments and pressure, he crumbles. He doesn't play well. Derek Carr in those moments thrives. So I think that can be the difference in the fourth quarter. When Derek Carr needs to make a play, he'll make those plays. But I don't know where this puts the Saints. It puts them as a potential playoff team, but I don't view them as a legit or true contender. And I'm still very skeptical on Dennis Allen as a head coach.
This is a really weird move where he reunites with Allen, who was fired in the middle of his rookie season. For the Saints, this does raise their ceiling after winning 7 games last year. But my question is, why are the Saints so stubborn to winning now? You had the 30th overall pick that you got from the 49ers. Since Sean Payne retired, I felt like this team should have rebuilt and took a step back and then draft a younger quarterback, where it feels like now they're kind of taking a page out of the Colts playbook, maybe of Frank Reich, or going with all these veteran quarterbacks. Last year, you tried Jameis. He took a shot in the dark. It didn't pan out. He had some injuries too. I get that. But with Derek Carr, you know what the ceiling is. You've talked about him. Great point. In the regular season, he can make some big-time throws, but in the playoffs, Derek Carr's not bringing you anywhere. And what I think of is that game versus the Bengals where they blow a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter and with the season on the line is throwing short of the sticks. That's what I think of when I think of Derek Carr in the biggest of games. So for the Saints, in this division, you're in prime position to get a win next year because you don't know who's going to be under center for the Buccaneers and the Panthers as well as some issues. But I really wonder if the Saints team actually has a direction, because the more I look at them with all their cap stuff, talked about Mickey Loomis has done, this organization is so stubborn in being respectable that they've kind of gotten to a point where it's like you're tying yourself to a hip of a team that's not going to win a playoff game in the next 5 years. And so I like this move for Derek Carr. He gets stability. And I think another reason why I chose the Saints is because he feels like they won't draft a quarterback to then, usurp him the way the Panthers may have with a higher draft pick. But ultimately, for New Orleans, this is a really weird move. I put you in prime position to win the division, but where is this leading you? Let me ask you this question. Over under 2.5 playoff wins next 5 years for the Saints. No, I'm not going to make that.
Under.
5 years, so much could change.
A lot can change exactly in the NFL. 5 years ago, Tyrod Taylor is the Bills quarterback.
Is his defense going to get any better than it already is right now?
Not really.
Is Michael Thomas going to be healthy consistently? You don't know that. Is his offensive line going to get better? I mean, it can't be any worse. That's the hope, that it gets better.
Mm-hmm. Trevor Penning will be healthy next year.
What are you going to do at the running back position?
Yeah, their defense is great, but it's getting older. And I think that's a problem. Their entire defensive line is old outside of Marcus Davenport, Cameron Jordan, David Onyemata. They're older. Demario Davis is older. Everybody's kind of reaching past their best years.
This past season, defensively, especially in the pass defense, where they were second ranked right behind Philadelphia, they were phenomenal. 9th ranked in terms of fewest points allowed per game. The defense was great. That was the one thing that carried over from the season prior. The issue and why I'm not all in on this move, similar to what you said, John, because you spoke a lot of truth there. This does put them in prime position to win the division. They should, as of right now, be the favorites to win the division. And that's the one thing that the Saints did by locking in this move. Hey, now we get to be relevant come playoff time. You make the playoffs, anything can happen. We can host a playoff game. We're one of the best environments to play at home also. No one's going to want to come into the Superdome. I'm blanking. Of course, you just don't want to go into New Orleans and play an away game. That's that simple. The issue here, the Superdome. Okay,
Caesars.
Good. I'm happy.
Caesars.
The one thing that concerns me is Michael Thomas's health, because I understand Michael Thomas. You guys are demons. I understand Michael Thomas's talent. Absolutely. I'm one of those guys that has been a strong advocate of his. He's on the field. He's dominant. We saw that this year. When he was on the field, he was really good. He just can't stay on it. And it's super unfortunate that with Olave and Michael Thomas, this is a duo that you have to talk about if they're on the field. And then, of course, with the legal situation going on with Alvin Kamara, we also don't know what's going on there and with Alvin and whether he's going to be playing football or not this season, or how long that suspension is going to be, if there's going to be a suspension at all. That's just such a huge question mark that there's nothing that's for certain with this New Orleans offense. You'll know that Derek Carr is going to be the quarterback. The hope is that Olave, Michael Thomas will be there. The hope is that Alvin Kamara will be there. But these are all hopes. You don't know what is for certain other than the fact that Derek Carr will be the starting quarterback for the New Orleans Saints. So I do like it where, yes, now you've probably given yourself a lock chance at winning their division and going to the playoffs, hosting a playoff game. But in the long term, how is this really going to benefit us when we're not going to have prime draft capital to really rebuild this roster? And with that, I 100% agree with John. I hate a team that's caught in limbo, where you're not going all in on being bad, but you're not trying to go all in on trying to win a Super Bowl, where, yes, the Saints have tried their hardest to win a Super Bowl, but at this point in time, it should be understood that those days are behind them. You no longer have the Sean Payton head coach, one of the best head coaches in the league, offensive mastermind. You no longer have the Hall of Fame quarterback in Drew Brees. Yes, the defense is great. The secondary is great. But there's nothing consistent about this team on the offensive side of the ball that allows me to have optimism about the Saints long term.
So the Saints have 7 picks in this upcoming draft. And the first round pick they got for Sean Payton is a 29th pick in the draft. So not a high-end first-round pick. I will say, if the Saints can draft well,
which they do,
then this could change the outlook of things.
For sure.
It does. It definitely, like John said, it moves me, right? It changes the ceiling for you because you go from Andy Dalton to Derek Carr, a substantial upgrade. There's no discrediting that. In the NFC, Derek Carr is, I mean, he's in that tier with Stafford and Cousins, right? You have Jalen Hurts. And then after that, it's like Stafford, Dak, Cousins, Carr, right? So in any given year, he could really be the second best quarterback in his conference, assuming Aaron Rodgers gets traded, right? So I understand the move in that sense. If you look at a team like the Jets that he was linked to, you go there and at minimum, you're second in your division. You're probably 9th in the conference. So he's going to go to the NFC where he's going to be one of the better quarterbacks. I understand that. I know a lot of discussion is he has familiarity with Dennis Allen. Dennis Allen coached him for 4 games his rookie year when 0-4 and got fired. So listen, maybe they talk off season, maybe they do workouts together. I don't know. But in terms of having a successful on the field relationship, very small sample size, I don't know if that was the driving force, getting Derek Carr to the Saints. And then you look at the offensive weapons. Of course, Michael Thomas, Kamara, who Mike has suspended, Olave was great his rookie year. Then look at what he had in Vegas, and this past season was probably better than that, right? He has one of the best receiver in football, if not top 2. He had Josh Jacobs, who is the best running back in football this past season. Waller and Renfro were hurt, but we saw even the season before that, they're both very valuable weapons to a team. So I don't even think realistically he's getting an upgrade on the offense side of the ball, especially when you take into account Michael Thomas' injury history and Alvin Kamara most likely getting suspended. Although we did say that last season he didn't end up getting suspended. And then, as you guys mentioned, they don't have a pick till pick 29, currently $24 million over the cap. They'll be able to make room. They'll make cuts, restructure to get under. But overall, they're still going to be limited in terms of being able to improve this team. And I know over the years, their defense has always been one of the better ones, especially the last 3 years. I think you mentioned last year they were ranked 9th. Yep. But I do have a hard time believing this is a true Super Bowl caliber team. This division right now is a mess. We don't know who's going to be playing quarterback for any of these teams outside of the Saints right now. So you have to say they're the favorite at the minimum to win the division. But when you look past that, it's still hard for me to say they could get past the Cowboys. They get past the Eagles, the 49ers, the Lions, depending on the moves they make, the Seahawks, who can make another step. Like, I still look at a lot of teams. The Lions and Seahawks are in their tier. Without a doubt, they're in their tier.
I think they could beat Dallas, too.
Maybe. You still they can win. They go to the Super Bowl last year. Now they can't beat the Saints.
But the Saints' defense is elite, bro.
It is, but you really do have to rely on that defense.
And the Cowboys don't have anybody to really worry about offensively. They don't have multiple guys that you got to worry about.
CeeDee Lamb, Tony Pollard, they're probably bringing someone else.
Also, it's a strong possibility. They're in. I mean, not say strong. They're in the conversation.
I'm gonna be honest. In the
DeAndre.
NFL right now, when you have 2 guys that you got to worry about, that's not enough.
I mean, the Saints are kind of the same boat.
I mean, what team has more than 2 guys that you have to worry about?
All the contenders do.
Not really.
I do think so, yeah.
The only 2. I'm the only one I can think of.
The Bengals,
Eagles,
the Dolphins.
The Dolphins.
I'm sorry, are we just talking just NFC?
I'm sorry. I'm just talking in general, really.
The Bengals, yes.
Bengals,
okay.
Dolphins.
49ers.
But do they have more than 2?
Who?
The Bengals?
T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd for sure.
Boyd is the best 3 in the league.
Okay.
And then they have an elite quarterback.
And Detroit's going to put on that too.
That's nothing. My whole point is about the weapons, though. I feel like you could still do it with 2.
No, but the elite, if you have an elite quarterback, there's more margin for error.
You also want that second guy to be a receiver instead of a running back.
I agree.
I mean, outside of CeeDee Lamb, it's who? Michael Gallup,
Dalton Schultz.
Well, Schultz is a free agent.
Tony Pollard.
Schultz is a free agent, and also
Odell. Not moving me.
Odell is. I mean, that's probably gonna be the land spot for him, right? There's always the talk in the regular season, but then his knee wasn't right. But I still think Odell has something left in the tank, right? Obviously, he was trying to rush it to get back this season, but I think long term it'll be better for him to sit out, get through a whole training camp, OTAs with the team, and Dallas still feels like the favorite to me. But just getting back to the Saints really quickly, then we can move on to the last topic. Derek Carr was someone who I wanted on the Jets, right? He's someone that I thought I saw it as could be a stabilizer, in a sense, a bridge quarterback. He's a franchise guy, but not an upper echelon type guy. So I just want to keep the same energy I would have had if he signed for the Jets than I did with the Saints. The only reason I have a little bit of hesitancy, just because I think the Jets defense is a tier above the Saints. They're still great, don't get me wrong. But the only reason why I was pushing for Derek Carr a couple of weeks ago is because I thought everything else around him would be perfect. The Saints, I still think there's some more to do, although maybe you have a bit more experience with a guy like Michael Thomas if you trust him to stay healthy rather than Garrett Wilson, even though you probably take Garrett Wilson over MT right now going forward. But with that being said, I still think it's a solid move for the Saints. It's just Derek Carr is your quarterback, and you just kind of have to live with he'll always be good. But when we have these conversations, you can't be upset when we say, not look for an upgrade, but when we don't put him in that upper echelon, when we don't give him the credit we do guys like Jalen Hurts and the Burrows who went to Super Bowls in the previous 2 years.
Can I say something real quick about Michael Thomas? So I do think with the Saints team, their weapons, the receivers specifically, are underrated. Shaheed last year, a really good season with Andy Dalton. But here's the thing, Michael Thomas. Rashid,
he's so serious.
He's a good player.
Dude.
He's a good third receiver as a role player.
Squad player.
No, he played very well. He made some great plays over the course of the season. Stop sleeping. You sleep in a lot of players, Dehls. You do sleep in a lot of players.
Like Devin Duvernay?
Michael Thomas.
He just doesn't give respect to the unknown guys.
And it's weird to me. He does that. You're a sleeper. So Michael Thomas was historically great when he comes in the NFL. Through his first 4 seasons, no receiver has more receiving yards. 5,500. The 3 years since, in 2020, 2021, and 2022, he's played a total of 10 games. Just 3 touchdowns. Missed a lot of time with multiple ankle injuries. I don't want to call it a fall off because he's still just 29 years old. He's turned 30, but it's kind of insane to me how quickly we heard that, of course. You might have heard on the mic. His rise and his peak, 1,700 yards in 2019. And we thought that was just the beginning for Michael Thomas. And that could potentially be the end. And I hate to say that because he was, for as much as people want to make fun of him for the, the slant check down merch and whatnot, he was a great player. Yeah. He had more receiving yards than Randy Moss, Odell Beckham Jr. in his first couple of seasons.
It sucks because I always root for these when these players have certain starts to their careers that rival Jerry Rice, and it's like there's potential for this guy to surpass them. I root for those guys. Michael Thomas was one of those guys. He was on pace to, maybe be in that tier, and then he just fell off. The reason I know you wanted to keep the same energy for Carr if he goes to the Jets and stuff. And listen, I do believe that Derek Carr wanted to come to the Jets. I think that if the Jets were ready right now to sign him and weren't waiting on Rodgers, Derek Carr would 100% be a Jet. This might be better for him for the fact that if he fails with the Saints,
no one's gonna talk about
it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter.
Sure.
If he fails with the Jets, it matters. And he's going to a conference that even if he is like the 6th to 7th ranked quarterback in the NFC, any of those guys that are above him, he can outplay on any given game. Really, I mean, you look at Matthews. Like I've ranked these quarterbacks. Number 1, Jalen Hurts. Number 2 is Dak. Number 3, Stafford. Number 4 is Collar. Number 5 is Cousins. Number 6 is Carr. And I have Geno behind him. Daniel Jones is like 8 to 10. Derek Carr outside of Jalen Hurts, I'm comfortable that, he can outplay him any given game. And even Jalen Hurts versus the Saints defense, then again, it's a battle of the defenses you're going up against. That Saints defense is elite.
The rush defense is not that good, but yes, their pass defense is really, really good.
And this might have influenced Derek Carr's decision earlier in the year, October 30th. I forgot what week was. It's probably week 8. The Saints beat the Raiders 24-0. So Derek Carr saw firsthand how elite that defense is and how much it can limit you. So I think the Saints having an elite defense, the Saints could win a playoff game. They could make the playoffs, and they should be favorites to win the NFC South. That's why I like it so much for Derek Carr. I think Derek Carr is a great quarterback who's gotten underrated in his entire Raiders tenure. And now that he has a stable organization, if the cap hell is not apparent, which, listen, so far it hasn't been, we haven't seen any bleedings of the moves they've made that we've thought is eventually going to catch up to them. This could be a perfect spot for Carr to showcase his abilities and finally get a playoff win or 2 and really stamp himself as a quarterback. Yes, sir. Now, next topic, Seahawks pay Geno Smith. Then we're going to talk about Lamar Jackson and really the question marks around why he's not somebody that teams want right now. Because right now it seems like nobody wants Lamar Jackson. The Seahawks paid Geno Smith 3-year, $105 million. He will earn $52 million in the first calendar year. And the Seahawks deal with Geno has a base value of $25 million per season. It's 3 years, $75 million, with $40 million fully guaranteed at signing, sources say. And he'll earn $28 million in the first year of the deal. I think this is different than the Saints going after Carr and the Giants signing Jones. The Saints went after Carr because that's their quarterback long term. Derek Carr is their quarterback long term for at least 4 years, or 3 most.
Yeah.
Or 3 at the least. With Daniel Jones, it's a 2-year prove it. We want to see what you've done for us. And I think they're also invested in him for these next 2 years, $40 million. They're invested in some $82 million guaranteed. With Geno Smith, the situation is so different because the Seahawks happen to be in a very unique situation where they traded a former All-Pro quarterback for multiple first-round picks. And that quarterback was so bad in this place called Denver that they netted the 5th overall pick in the draft.
Last time.
Pete Carroll, there was a report that came out that said, man, him and Anthony Richardson had instant repertoire. I mean, they were clicking. I mean, what if the Seahawks decide to take someone like Richardson with the 5th overall pick? They sit him for 1 or 2 seasons behind Geno Smith, and then Richardson starts in Seattle. Now, that's a possibility. The Seahawks have so many avenues to get better, and maybe they don't even do that. Maybe they draft one of these top defensive prospects, and they just go all in. Because right now, Seattle's a great team. They just lack a run defense. They don't have a good defensive line at all. But you have Geno Smith. You have good receivers. You have a great running back. Your tackles in Charles Cross and Abraham Lucas are solidified. I mean, the Seahawks, I think, paying Geno, I love that they paid Geno because Geno Smith deserved this money, and he earned it, man. Going from drafted to the Jets, career in the mud, to the Giants having a chance, but Giants fans booing him out the building because they didn't like how Eli was treated, to the Chargers, and then learning from Russ in Seattle. Geno Smith's story has been incredible, and I'm glad that he got paid.
Facts.
And Zach Wilson's next.
For what?
The same career arc.
Oh, that would be fun.
Geno is better than Zach Wilson.
Really?
Yeah, he is.
There's only an MVP can the first 6 weeks of the
No,
season.
I'm talking about to start the career.
Oh yeah, calmly.
Shit. I guess I can talk about Geno Smith. Listen, of course, being the bitter Broncos fan, I won't do that. I got to give nothing but credit to Geno Smith and what the Seahawks were able to accomplish over there this season. Probably the most surprising team this season, not named the New York Giants. And I say that for the fact that they traded their franchise quarterback and in the process were able to potentially acquire their future franchise quarterback. I believe that if I'm the Seahawks and I have the 5th overall pick and a CJ Stroud is available at that selection, I find it near impossible to pass up on that option. You take the selection in CJ Stroud, you allow him to sit. This allows CJ to sit and learn under Geno Smith for 1 season, and then it allows you to move on and potentially even trade Geno to get future capital as well. I understand that what Geno Smith did this season was great. The only reason why I'm kind of shocked at the price tag that they gave him is for the fact that they do have the 5th overall pick and they do have the potential to select an Anthony Richardson or CJ Stroud. That would be the only reason why I wouldn't expect them to invest long-term into Geno, especially after 1 season of this. But this season was just so great that I understand paying him. He was phenomenal, was able to make it to the playoffs. Yes, they did get bounced in the first round, but it was an unfavorable matchup against the Niners, who were just a better team on both sides of the ball, defensively and offensively. But me personally, I wouldn't have invested this money into Geno because of that top 5 pick. But now it allows you a luxury right now. You can still select at the number 5 pick a quarterback, or right now you address the defense that desperately needed help in terms of points per game. It was one of the bottom defenses in the league, but it still was able to overcome because their offense was so high scoring and so high potent that it didn't matter. Rushing, passing, they were clicking on all cylinders, and Geno was a huge catalyst to that as well. Got to give credit to Pete Carroll. I'm a Russell Wilson guy, but I can't ignore the obvious. Pete moves on from Russ and goes and gives Geno the best career of his year, the best season of his career. So it'll be interesting to see what they do at 5. I'm still in favor of them selecting a quarterback, but now they have a little bit of flexibility.
We got to give Geno some love.
You got to.
Because as a Jet fan in New York, I remember as a rookie, he led the NFL in game-winning drives, and we saw those flashes. He then spends a handful of years sitting behind Eli Manning, Phillip Rivers, and Russell Wilson. But what do you know? Just like Jordan Love, those quarterbacks tend to pick up a couple of things, right?
Here we go.
And this
From
last
all-time
year,
greats, you know,
Geno was an
that's how it
MVP
happens.
can to start the season, right? Lights out. As the year went on, he started to see a little bit of the poor decision-making habits maybe carry over some. But then against the 49ers in the plus, he played a solid game against the best defense in football. He had a fumble and an interception, but he played well. And they're even up at halftime versus a Niners team that was supposed to go to the Super Bowl we all expected. Geno Smith had a phenomenal season, right? Becomes a single-season passing leader for the Seahawks, 30 TDs, limits the interceptions. I love his athleticism, though. His ability to move out the pocket, extend plays, and he's got great arm talent. I'm excited for him because this is a great deal for the Seahawks. It truly is. $25 million per season with $40 million only guaranteed over 3 years. Now he's going to have upwards of $30 million in incentives. So while it is 3 years, $105 million, he's going to be one of the lowest paid starting quarterbacks that's on that second contract. Technically for him, it's his fourth or fifth, whatever it is, but second meaningful long-term contract. And for them, that gives them that optionality. You're not tied to him as much as a Jared Goff or Carson Wentz, where you have to have him starting long-term. With that fifth pick, I think they might go Jalen Carter. Obviously, he's going to slip. They're going to go defense. They're going to add to that defense. They're going to add more and more. And ultimately, for the Seahawks offense, they're going to be firm, right? We'll see what happens with Rashad Penny this year. The running game is going to be elite. And so long as Kenneth Walker, exactly. So if Rashad Penny is to change a pace back, he can somehow stay healthy. That would be insane. Oh, he is.
Ken was the guy, but Rashad is still good enough
Sure.
that you can have the 1-2.
Hey,
but you want to lean on
second
Kenny.
round, though,
You want to lean on Kenny.
That's a good point. And I think for the Seahawks offense, like I was saying before, I mean, it's just a matter of building up that offensive line more and more, and getting the development of those 2 rookie tackles from this last year. And this division, I think they're going to be right back in prime position next year to make the playoffs. And that, to no small part, it's going to be because of Geno Smith's development. This guy's 32 years old. He can get better and more reps, and I'm just happy to see him thrive.
Sure, well-deserved contract, and you always love to see the first number that comes out, usually the agent's number, 3 years, $105 million, and it's actually 3 years, $75 million, and everything else is incentives. So the fact you're getting Geno at a base of $25 million is an absolute steal.
Yep.
So first of all, Geno, well-deserved. I mean, the fact his career arc is something we've rarely ever seen in the NFL. The fact he goes from a bust, second-round bust, to backup to borderline franchise quarterback for the Seahawks team, saying that loosely, but getting paid $75 million over 3 years is no laughing matter. Seahawks believe in him. He deserves it. Completed 70% of his passes this year. And honestly, they didn't even miss Russell Wilson, for being completely, transparent with each other here. And it also gives the Seahawks flexibility. I think it was a win-win on both sides. Geno gets his money. He gets his big-term contract he's been searching for his entire career. And the Seahawks still have the ability to be flexible, right? Only $40 million guaranteed, $25 million in base. And it's important to remember the incentives, which puts it up to $105 million, does not count towards the cap. It's just the $25 million in base and the guaranteed money that will count year to year. To talk about the 5th overall pick, it's a luxury. It's a luxury to have this pick, and because of that luxury, I think they should seriously consider drafting a quarterback there. I think this contract tells you they believe in Geno, but they don't believe in Geno enough to make him their long-term quarterback for the next 5 years, give him a ridiculous amount of guaranteed money, and say, we're not even going to think twice about drafting a quarterback. Geno Smith is the absolute perfect, maybe the best bridge quarterback in the NFL right now. He's someone who could start in the Seahawks for the next 1 to 2 years, maybe even 3 if you really need to push it, and bring in a rookie quarterback who could learn and develop under a guy who has all the experience in the world, has gone through all the ups and downs in the NFL, and just the perfect mentor for a quarterback to come in and be the perfect backup and really develop their skill set while still having, a guy in front of you that could win games if you're a Seahawks fan. So at the 5th pick, I think the first 3 will be some order of Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, and Will Anderson. Jalen Carter is a bit of a mystery box right now with his legal situation. He could go as high as 1. He could drop out the top 10. We really don't know what's going to go on with him. But those 3 picks are solidified. So that means at the minimum, you'll have Will Levis or Anthony Richardson there available at pick 5, and potentially even both of them there available at pick 5, depending on what happens with the Colts at 4 if they trade up or down. So I would definitely be taking a quarterback there. I think the fact that you could get someone with insanely high upside like Richardson, or if you're a Will Levis guy, it doesn't go, it's your golden ticket to go to the Super Bowl. Yeah. Having a quarterback on a rookie contract, we say it ad nauseum at this point, but that is your golden ticket to get to a Super Bowl. And although there's a bunch of prospects that are probably worth it, Tyree Wilson, I know, is a guy they like a lot. They need help on the defensive line. He's versatile. He could play inside or outside, get to the quarterback. He's a 7'2" wingspan. I know that's someone they've been linked to, but the fact that you could get a position of kind of need, the most important position, and a position that has an impact like no other in football, and still have another first-round pick that's in the teens, the late teens.
Broncos plus them.
Yeah, I mean, this is a situation that rarely happens in the NFL. Usually, if you're picking top 5, you need a quarterback, or your quarterback is injured, or there's a question mark there. This is a situation where that's not the case, where they're completely sold on Geno. They could take a shot at a quarterback, and if it doesn't work out, it's not the end of the world, because you still have Geno, and you still have your other first-round pick that you could build up the defense and still be competitive this year. And as John mentioned, the only other team that really scares in the NFC West is, of course, the 49ers. We know they're without a doubt, the juggernaut of that division. But the Rams, does that really scare anybody? They're going to have to make some cuts. We talked to Jalen Ramsey is a name, Allen Robinson, although he's pretty washed right now. The Cardinals might have the number 1 pick overall next year. So in the NFC, this is a Seahawks team that if they continue to develop, because they have a ton of rookies that they had from last year, draft well, sign free agents that, reasonable deals, there's no reason to not think they can make the playoffs next year while still developing a quarterback. And if he hits, you hit on Anthony Richardson, now you have, your franchise quarterback just waiting for you, almost like an Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love situation.
I'm really fine with whatever direction the Seahawks go in, because I think they can win with Geno Smith. I think that they could go on a playoff run with Geno Smith if they build up that defense. When you watch Geno's tape this past season, it wasn't simple things he was doing. He was making big-time throws, tight window throws to Lockett, to DK Metcalf, between 2-3 defenders. He was airing it out. He was making big-time throws. He played like one of those great quarterbacks in moments. And I would say most of the season, half of the season, he played at that level. There were certain times where he played against better defenses where he regressed. But I think if you get a better offensive line and another receiving option, because outside of DK and Lockett, at tight end and at the slot, they don't have somebody that is valuable. And if they have an offensive line, they can now run with Kenneth Walker and be more effective there. This defense, we're forgetting that. This upcoming season, they're getting the press back.
Talk to him.
They're going to have Tariq Woolen, Kobe Bryant, Quadre Diggs, Jamal Adams. If Jordan Brooks, I think, is still really good, if they build up this defensive line and go with the Jalen Carter, or who knows, maybe they trade back because there's teams that want a quarterback at 5.
Not insane.
And they trade back and they get another first-round pick next season. They can make some noise. And Brett Coleman was saying something on Twitter that I thought was interesting. They could draft a DTR later in the draft. Dorian Thompson-Robinson from UCLA, who has a great arm, but needs some polish as a quarterback. And he's gotten better each year since he's been 18. So that could be an option in like the later rounds, the 3rd or 4th round, where they can draft a guy like that. And he could sit under Geno. It doesn't always have to be one of these top prospects. It could be somebody that you can get in the lower rounds, and maybe they can be a bridge for a couple years. Ultimately, it's very hard to find a rare quarterback, an elite level talent. And while I think guys in this draft have that, it also could be a risk where the Seahawks can draft the impact defensive player now and potentially win some playoff games with Geno, because I think Geno is a good enough quarterback to win you playoff games if the roster is around him.
Without doubt.
I only worry for the fact that how many playoff games? Can he win you a Super Bowl? Can Geno win a Super Bowl?
Unlikely.
In the NFC, I think you can win multiple playoff games.
There are a lot of holes in that team that can correct. Second cornerback, defensive line, those rookies developing. You can definitely go to the NFC Championship game with Geno Smith, because like you said, I talked about his ability to move out the pocket. 70%
NFC Championship,
completion
that means
percentage.
they're beating the 49ers.
That's 2 playoff wins.
That means that they're beating the Eagles. One of the two needs to happen to get there. Is that happening?
The Eagles are the only
Are they
team.
going to win their division?
The Eagles are the only team that I don't think that they can't beat. I think the Eagles have a great roster. And even then, we have to see the Eagles and how they look like after all these free agents.
7 on the
You can't forget that the Niners were just dominant all season long either.
In the NFC, there's a bunch of
they just went 0-3 to the Niners this season.
A lot can change in the NFL. At face value, the Niners and the Eagles clear, but we see every other year Niners get ruined by injuries. They win 6, 7, 8 games. Now we know they're at the playoffs. Seahawks win the division, and maybe they can go to the NFC Championship.
That's the thing. I just don't see it
2
happening.
key injuries. Really,
it's tough. It'll be tough to see that happen.
I mean, I also didn't see them making the playoffs this year, and they did.
Because Kyle Shanahan teams
what
stay
fuck
healthy.
do I know? I guess
the 49ers typically don't stay healthy. But I do think the NFC, there's a lot of
They don't
teams,
stay healthy, and they made it to 2 straight NFC Championship games. Let's respect them, please.
including their quarterback, multiple.
3 quarterback injuries.
Nick Bosa and Fred Warner were healthy. Now they lose to Miko Ryans. Does Talanoa Ufanga regress?
They lost Robert
with that
Saleh,
loss?
and they were fine.
Well, I
2020
think
they were
Tamiko's even
injured.
better.
2021, Jimmy did get injured down the stretch, and that hurt them in the playoffs.
Think about how
He
hard it is
still
to
made
have
it to
3
NFC chip,
straight
though.
awesome DCs.
Yeah, and it cost him because he couldn't. He was
They have a lot of talent.
No, and they went to
Enough.
the Mr. Irrelevant Brock Purdy, and they were able to make it to an NFC chip.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
the
the
reason-
consistency that the Niners show, you have to respect them and give them that acknowledgement.
No doubt. But then you also have to look at the NFC, and there's a lot of teams with holes on the roster. I think that the NFC,
Dallas
more
is
so-
fine.
Dallas has. I mean, listen, if you build up a defense that can tame Dallas's offense, you're in a good position.
The Niners
And
already
now-
have that.
Yeah, and
The Niners already have that.
they're not. Yeah, and they did do
No,
that.
but that's what I'm saying. The Seahawks, their secondary is still solid for sure, and Jamal coming back, that's not something to just gloss over.
I think when you talk about Dallas, for example, they lost Kellen Moore. Mike McCarthy's not calling plays. He has more responsibility on him. How do they react to that? You're not. Their weapons to me are underwhelming. They need somebody else. You look at the Eagles; they're an elite team. We know
They're
that.
probably gonna get somebody.
The
else.
NFC South, nobody in that division worries me.
No, I'm with you.
The NFC North,
Saints.
I not really. I
That's
think the
another
Saints,
thing, though.
That's what I'm
Saints and
saying.
Seahawks are in the same tier.
But that's what I'm saying. There's teams that are all around the same tier.
Yeah.
And that's why, to me, I think the NFC is wide open. Where that's why the Giants made the move they did. They understand that. Listen, if we have a killer draft and we sign 1-2 guys in free agency, we can make a run at this thing in the NFC because they understand it's a weak conference and a team that probably shouldn't have. I mean, who were the 4 starting quarterbacks in the NFC in the divisional round of the NFC?
Jalen Hurts,
Daniel Jones, Kirk Cousins,
Kirk, and Brock.
You know, for you
But respect, but that's
on a year-to-year basis, I can see that changing.
Franchise quarterback, Jalen Hurts, franchise quarterback, top 7, top 6 quarterback. Daniel Jones right now is got an extension. Still,
16th.
the verdict's out on him being a franchise quarterback in the Giants' eyes. And Brock Purdy, who we cannot just simply overlook for the fact that he was the last pick in the draft.
I'm
He-
overlooking
17th.
Brock Purdy so
He's
much.
17th best quarterback.
I'm sorry.
You
I-
said something right there. The Saints and the Seahawks are in the same tier. I don't think that's true.
Why not?
Dennis Allen could be gone a year, whereas Pete Carroll, the definition is stability, and you have this Broncos
I mean,
pick
the
as
Saints
well as
defense-
your own.
but
the
You have
Saints
way more
defense
assets.
is
when is
so
Pete
much
Carroll-
better.
When is Pete
So
Carroll
much better.
retiring? He's the oldest coach in the NFL.
I'm not even worried about.
Not
I
this
think
season.
Pete Carroll's better coach, but that Saints
Yes.
defense is so much better than the
But
Seahawks.
what
right
if they
now.
had another draft the way they just
They could,
did?
but we've seen for fucking like every year the Saints defense is good. It doesn't matter. Like the Seahawks, you have to project their defense to be good. The Saints, you're projecting, but you also have history telling you they're a good defense as long as Dennis Allen is there.
There's just kind of a feeling I get. John Schneider missed a lot of years in the draft, and then last year they hit it out the park.
All I'm saying is that when you look at the Seahawks
So-
or other teams in the NFC, it's not like comparing it to the AFC. Damn, they got to get past a Joe Burrow or Mahomes or a Josh Allen or a Lamar Jackson, a Justin Herbert, etc. It's not that way in the NFC. In the NFC, it's okay. You got to face Daniel Jones. You know, can you beat Daniel Jones? Can you beat Brock Purdy? You know, we don't. The 49ers, for as much credit as I like to give Kyle Shanahan, I think he's the second best offensive play caller in the league behind Andy Reid.
Yep.
You can scheme up to stop some of the things they do.
Like
and,
what?
And Brock Purdy.
Have they done it?
Brock Purdy is an unimpressive quarterback to me.
Okay, you could say that he's unimpressive. That's fine. I understand, right? He didn't do anything that absolutely wowed you. But what wowed me is that he was a third-string quarterback, and he looked better than the one that he succeeded.
That doesn't make him invincible, though. The Seahawks can beat him.
Well, they had a chance to beat him, and they got smoked.
The first half was
Double
very
digits.
close.
The first half was
They're
very
up.
close, and then Brock Purdy turned it up.
Yeah, but then
Not just Brock Purdy. I'm just
Brock
using
Purdy
the
didn't
very
turn the
selective
first
here.
round.
Brock Purdy
Sucks
didn't
too.
turn it up. He actually was.
He was okay.
Yeah.
He
Was
was all right.
really. He
I
had a
agree.
negative EPA in that game.
Enough with this bullshit
he did have
EPA. They
300
smoked him by
yards and
double
3 TDs.
digits.
No
It was a
turnovers.
garbage time
He played
touchdown to
well.
make it closer than it was. Also,
Yeah, but- Respect
EPA
on
is the best stat to use for.
I don't.
evaluating
You
it.
said that about DVOA. What happened to that? We moved on to EPA.
No, they're both the best. The best stats to use
I'm
for
just
football.
saying. Let's just use our eyes. Brock Purdy won games. He looked decent.
If you use your eyes, you see that Brock Purdy threw a dangerous throw that could have been easily intercepted, and it was.
What do you think
You can look
Purdy
at it
is?
half. He's an alright quarterback that wins games.
Can he be as good as Geno
He's a
Smith?
backup.
Brock's a great backup.
Brock
I don't know.
Purdy's a backup. He's
Is
a
Jimmy
great
G a backup? Career backup?
Yes.
You would rather
Jimmy Garoppolo is not good,
Joel,
bro.
who would you rather have, Brock Purdy or Jimmy Garoppolo next 2 years?
I'd have Jimmy Garoppolo.
What?
I think Jimmy
That's
Garoppolo
what
is
I'm-
better
what?
than Brock
That
Purdy.
is
No,
that's
no,
why-
no.
In a vacuum or in San Francisco?
Brock is
In a
We're in a
vacuum.
vacuum.
I'm
Brock
talking
is
about in a
way
vacuum.
more athletic.
Yeah, okay.
Jimmy's a
you're
statue
saying-
in the pocket. Jimmy doesn't hit those high level
Like if you're
throws.
the
and he
Jets,
can't
are you
stay
taking
healthy.
Jimmy Garoppolo or Brock Purdy?
You take Jimmy.
I would take Brock. Less money, but think about it.
But
Jimmy's a
I don't
statue.
know,
I'm
man.
gonna be honest, bro. I'm not gonna argue about mid quarterbacks like this. That's something I'm not gonna do.
But
They both-
we argue about mediocrity on the NBA all the time. Don't fucking act like it's
We
beneath
had
you.
a
It's Jimmy
Jared
Garoppolo.
Goff versus Justin Fields debate.
Listen,
Just Fields.
Goff versus Fields.
Oh, Fields.
So, I mean,
listen.
Fields
It's
clears.
Jimmy Garoppolo, bro.
it's not.
It's
He's a
Jimmy.
statue.
No, I'm
Brock
saying,
Purdy's
I'm saying,
Brock
I'm
Purdy
saying,
played
like,
better
I'm saying,
than Jimmy G this
it's
year.
Jimmy
Answer the
Garoppolo
question. Who played better, Brock Purdy or Jimmy G?
who had more time to play with Christian McCaffrey.
Oh,
Bro.
come on,
But you
man.
said before when they made the trade that didn't
it wasn't
move
an
you.
impact.
Doesn't matter.
for you.
No,
This-
what did I, bro? Y'all be misinterpreting what I said. I said it didn't matter because this doesn't put them into Super Bowl contention. I said this move does not make them a team that's going to win it all now.
Well, did you not have them going to the Super Bowl? Yes or no?
Yeah,
Yeah,
but I didn't have them winning.
I'm not going to do him like that. He ultimately got it right.
I didn't
Never
have
lost.
them. I didn't have them winning.
Undefeated.
You know, and I had them going to it because, you know, yes, we saw the Eagles defense was fraudulent, and if Brock Purdy was healthy, Kyle Shanahan would have found a way to scheme things up. There's no doubt about it. But let's not act. Kyle Shanahan to me.
Maybe.
Kyle Shanahan gets 90% of the credit for me. Jimmy
Okay.
Garoppolo, any other situation he goes to is a mid, is average. Kyle Shanahan turned him into a top 10 EPA quarterback season after season when he's been healthy. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo had a winning record in the playoffs despite being horrible in the playoffs.
Agreed.
I mean, Kyle Shanahan mass quarterbacks that are average at best.
They also had great defense.
He didn't mask CJ Beathard and Nick Mullins and those quarterbacks before they got CMC.
Nick Mullins
sure.
played well.
He did.
He had good
He had moments.
statistical
And Monday
games.
night.
He had good statistical
He did.
games.
And CJ Beathard, like later
he
in his
didn't
tenure
win
with
with
San
them.
Fran, played well too.
Before this year,
They
he
were
was 9-28 with
But
those.
why? But why? Why didn't he win? Because in 2019, when Nick Mullins, or no, in 2020, when Nick Mullins started most of the season, the entire defense was injured. That's the reason.
This is one season, 28 losses.
Debo.
If the defense is healthy and everything is right, you can plug in any quarterback in the league, and the Niners are going to win 10 plus games.
But doesn't it say
Wow.
something that Purdy came with no experience, and this Niners offense, which is more difficult to learn, their playbook is one of the more diverse.
It's not more difficult
and
to
they
learn.
actually got better offensively at Brock Purdy.
There is a correlation between when CMC came and then the numbers spiking at that position. Christian McCaffrey, now you have to account for so many other things that it's going to make the quarterback play better. If Jimmy Garoppolo
I
had,
don't like this logic because you kind of brushed the CMC.
You did brush the move
you kind
off,
of just
yeah.
brushed it off
I
to the
brushed
side.
it. No, I brushed it off in terms of they're not a team that's going to win the Super Bowl because of this move.
But Drew was also trying to argue how it would make Jimmy Garoppolo better at the time, and you were kind of just like,
No,
I
he
don't
did
know.
not.
It's
He
wrong.
argued-
Yes, he
that was
did.
like my main point.
No,
Yeah.
he argued to me that in those high leverage moments, having CMC to check down to is a plus. And I'm like,
Okay.
listen, my entire argument in that debate was that ultimately this doesn't mask Jimmy Garoppolo when you need an important must-have drive. We could go back to the debate. That's my entire point, because ultimately in the fourth quarter, when Jimmy Garoppolo has to lead a 60-yard or maybe a 30, 40-yard drive to get a field goal, having somebody like that's not going to matter because he's going to have to make high-level reads and throws that are, it's not just going to be gimmicky the way that Kyle Shanahan always keeps up for him. He's going to have to make big throws, and when he's forced to do that, he sucks.
Brock Purdy made big throws. Huge ones. He came against the Dolphins, took an absolute shot, got rocked. But it might have been Christian Wilkins delivered a beautiful ball over the middle to George.
Because I know for a fact
second
when
drive.
Jimmy G went down and Brock Purdy came in, I'm thinking, all right, the Dolphins are about to cruise to a W, and Brock Purdy lit it the fuck up.
Yeah. I would probably take Purdy, but
I can admit Brock Purdy for what he did. It's awesome.
It's incredibly
He did. It's awesome. It's impressive. There's no doubt.
He's not
But
just
let's
another
not-
backup.
But yes,
then
he is another
he is
backup.
not.
He's
So
just
then
another
Josh
backup.
Johnson should have just came in and just been at least Brock Purdy, right?
Well,
For Kyle Shanahan's Jesus Christ, which obviously that's a strong statement. We understand that Kyle Shanahan's great. But if he's so damn good, then why wasn't Josh Johnson another plug and play?
Well, the logic in that is that Josh Johnson came late December and really wasn't able to learn the
Purdy
offense.
came
Yeah.
as a rookie with no
Asking-
experience
asking
with those
Josh
guys.
Johnson to come in.
No
Of
reps.
course,
And
of course. I'm
better
being
offense.
exaggerative.
I know.
Brock Purdy
Purdy
was Mr. Irrelevant.
He was
I know,
the
but
third
Brock
quarterback in
Brock
training camp.
Purdy in the training camp, he was going up against a scout team. He was going up against the first team defense every single practice. He was getting better that way. He was good in training camp. He was impressive in training camp. he was getting better. He learned the offense. When you run the scout team, you have to know all the ins and outs about what the offense you're running.
Yeah.
Josh Johnson came in December. He did not have that. So I think that's a difference in his play. So you think that Brock Purdy in 5 years is a starting quarterback in the NFL?
I never said that, but
If he
I
stays
So he's
on-
just another backup.
No.
Jimmy.
You could say it very simply like this. We'll see what happens with Trey Lance, if he's still on the Niners or not. If they decide to trade Trey Lance, what does that mean to me? Brock Purdy's the long-term answer for the San Francisco 49ers.
And Shanahan preferred Purdy. He trusted him more. He opened up the playbook because, ironically, he can get outside the pocket and extend plays the way Garoppolo
he called the
couldn't on
game
run.
differently because Brock Purdy is athletic and Jimmy's not.
Well, that's a pretty big thing to
But
look for.
open up
being able to
the
evade pressure.
playbook. I mean, listen,
That's pretty
bro.
big.
Brock Purdy was still on training wheels in that San Fran offense. Now,
But it didn't matter because they had success.
if you're not willing to stand by Brock Purdy can be a starting NFL quarterback in 5 years, then what you're telling me is that he's just another backup.
He
That's
can.
what you're
I
telling
thank
me.
you. I'm
He showed he
I'm
can.
with that statement. If Trey Lance is traded, that means to me that Brock Purdy was their answer. They decided to go on with Brock. He will be there for the long
Okay,
term.
I understand this hypothetical scenario, but I'm just asking for your opinion. I don't care about everything else. Is Brock Purdy a starting quarterback in the NFL in 5 years?
Yes.
Yes.
He'll get a chance, without a doubt.
He should get a chance for sure.
With San Francisco,
With
he
San
can be.
Francisco.
I don't know if he goes to a different team.
I agree
Now,
with that.
Dehls, if Brock Purdy is not a starter in 5 years, is he just another backup?
I mean, isn't
He'll
that
be
just
a
how it
high level
goes?
backup, I think.
That's what I'm saying.
Isn't that just how it goes?
So he's
though?
just another backup.
But he's not. With
Okay.
San Fran, he's not. He's not
He
just
is.
another backup.
Jimmy Garoppolo is just another guy, honestly.
How many
bro.
games did Brock Purdy lose as the quarterback?
Oh, none.
One. He lost the Raiders.
If you-
Didn't he? Didn't lose that Raiders game?
I think you're
They
right.
beat the Raiders.
No.
I'm pretty
They
sure
did beat
lost.
the Raiders.
I thought they lost that.
Oh,
never
they did
lost.
choke it. They choked it. They choked it.
No, they did beat the Raiders.
In overtime, Robbie Gould hit the field goal and won.
They did beat the Raiders, but
He was
Brock
un-
Purdy did not play good in
He
that
was
game.
undefeated. He was undefeated. And if you
Brock-
want to count the Eagles' loss because he started, that's on you.
Brock is solid. I feel like we've seen this. They had Jimmy Garoppolo. They went to the Super Bowl and they drafted Trey Lance. So I think Brock Purdy, he could come in and do similar things and maybe even more with Jimmy G, more than Jimmy G, especially because he's much more mobile than him. But I also think at the end of the day, Shanahan is going to see Brock Purdy does have limitations. I mean, obviously you could get the draft wrong, but he was Mr. Irrelevant. Everyone passed on him a bunch of
Facts.
times. So, that doesn't always mean that you're a bad quarterback by any means. Of course, Brady 6th round pick, but I do think that eventually they're going to see a time, especially maybe once that rookie contract is up, that if they can improve at quarterback, they'll move on from Brock Purdy.
5 years, that rookie deal is off.
Long
And
gone.
he's a 7th round pick?
Yeah.
He doesn't
even
have
a
no
4-year
5th year.
deal? I
Yeah,
don't
it
even
might be
know.
a 2-3 year deal.
Yeah.
Just saying. You willing to put some money on that bet, or
But
you
the
just
fact
this is just word of
he's
mouth?
gonna be
bet?
making
I only bet on Kenny Pickett.
$600,000 a year probably. Like he's making 4 years, $3.7 million. So he's
Now-
gonna be paying less than $1 million. So of course you're gonna keep him.
Now, while you get how many years he's under, Dehls, I'm gonna talk about Athletic Greens
And
because
I'm
they're
gonna use the bathroom
sponsoring
because my stomach is
this
fucking killing me.
podcast. Athletic Greens is a sponsor of the Pick a Side podcast, and they cover all of your nutritional needs daily. And it's so easy to drink it every day. All you do is just mix 1 small scoop of AG1 with water and drink it first thing in the morning, and you're done. It costs less than $3 a day to take this AG1 product, and that's pretty good if you ask me. It's a really effective daily habit that I've been using every day. As soon as I wake up, you can put Athletic Green AG1 in your water, in your smoothie, anything. And to me, I like it just taking it with water. It has this earthy taste to it that I like a lot.
Nice.
Especially
It's-
early in the morning, you gotta get that water in.
Yeah, I love using Athletic Greens, and it's used with highly quality source ingredients. It's a win-win. Now, if a comprehensive solution is what you need from your supplement routine, then Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Go to athleticgreens.com/pickaside. That's athleticgreens.com/pickaside. Go check it out. I don't know if you ever tried Athletic Greens.
I haven't. I've heard only good things.
Yeah, Drew takes it, and unfortunately he's in the bathroom right now, but I know that Drew takes
Drew
it daily,
loves it.
and he loves it. And John, I'm not sure if you
I'm
had,
gonna have to try it.
you have
at
to
some
try it.
point.
I have some travel packs upstairs. Athletic Greens, they gifted us the powder for 1 month, and also they gifted us a bunch of travel packs. And, it's so good that sometimes it's nighttime, man, and I mix it with some water and I
Yeah.
drink it.
No, it's big time because I have some digestive issues, especially if I'm in like wheat or like pizza, let's say.
Are you gluten?
I'm not quite, but it's weird for me. I've had those moments where I thought I was, but it's been on off type of thing.
Interesting.
So, I'm not gluten intolerant. I hope not, because that's something that'll develop. I feel like having my brother Nick, so it runs my family.
Oh damn, you might be fucked.
We'll see. He got it at 19 on 19.
So we're talking about AG1, best powder in the game.
Yes, sir.
No, I mean, you guys said it perfectly. Yes, I'm a huge believer in AG1 every single morning. That's how I start my day. It just makes me feel a little bit more energized and makes me feel like I'm actually putting some great stuff into my body. And that's how I start my day, right? I mean, I want to start it on a high, and that's how I started AG1.
Unrelated, but Snapchat has an AI now.
Allegedly.
You get Snapchat Plus. You could basically like talk to an AI.
So I don't know if you noticed in like the last part of the Daniel Jones conversation, I got a text from my group chat, my fantasy football league. We do our dynasty, and allegedly we were doing our lottery tonight. And I said, I'm recording, let's do it tomorrow because I'll be around. And fuckers were feeling super impatient. Decided to run it tonight, and I was supposed to have tied best odds to acquire the number 1 overall pick. Tied, right? But we weren't locked in on what the odds were. But allegedly, it was tied between Vaughn and I. But before we talked about it, Vaughn was supposed to have best odds, and then we tied it. So I wasn't too upset there. Then they ran it today, right? And then somehow I get a text saying I now have the 3rd pick overall, when I was supposed to have tied for best odds to get the number 1 overall pick. I wanted to wait for us to do it. I would have been there, would have been fine. But then instead, now I have to go to a screenshot to see that I've been bamboozled, hoodwinked, led astray. And now I'm fucked out of Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs. This is some fuckery I have to sit with.
Maybe someone takes.
Maybe you take Jackson, JSN.
That's who I'm going to ultimately take, but I don't fucking need a receiver, man.
Maybe
What happens to the Steelers draft Jordan Addison?
Bro, it hit me all at once. That shit happened. My stomach started to hurt. I was just like, this fucking sucks.
Do you think they were correlated?
Probably. I'm sick about it, though, because I said, let's just do it tomorrow. And then, of course, the wrong person got the number 1 overall pick, because when shit happens his way, it is fucking stern.
No, well, to be fair, he did put a poll in our group chat saying, "Is this fair?"
No, I saw.
Or is it not fair?
I'm not gonna fucking answer, because either which way I say it, it's like, it's Drew. He wants it his way.
I'm also the commissioner of this league.
That's true.
And
you have the power to rescind it.
I just said in the group chat, I was like, we could have run the lottery tonight, and then I was working, so I put my phone away, and they went in, they figured out the odds, they're like, we're gonna run it tonight. I'm like, it's really only 4 people in the lottery it affects. So I was like,
I went back. I said, do it tomorrow. I'm recording the podcast. I won't be around.
I'm gonna let the chat or the
I'm not
people
fucking
decide.
answering. They know how I feel.
You want to know something that's
sick.
going to make you feel a little bit better?
Let's hear it.
Santos wants your jersey size so that you can get something as sick as that.
You know what,
right
too?
there. Give a round of applause for Santos.
Yes, Santos, that does make me feel good. I'll say this, too, because Santos and I were texting, and he was real. He's like, I wanted to get you the Jalen Brunson jersey, but we can't do Joel like that. And I was like, yeah, I'm with you. We can't do Joel like that.
You can.
But I've been fighting, man. I'm like, I don't want this AD jersey. He's been pissing me off. But then, of course, when he plays without LeBron, he's back to that would not be crazy. But I need to know if we're gonna have him long term. But then AD has been unbelievable these last 4 games, and I want that Lakers white and turquoise blue jerseys. I know they're fire.
But MPLS?
No. The new Lakers white and blue ones. It says Lakers across. I don't know if I want the AD or LeBron one, but I'm a large, Santos. I'm a large.
I read that wrong at first. Anthony Edwards, I think, had 15 points in the first quarter, and he's still losing right now by 12. Fun fact.
Yes, we need that. We need them to keep losing. The fucking Kings, they smoked the Kings the other day. I was fuming. I'm like, the only time I need the Kings to cook up, they really get smoked by the Wolves. The Lakers, we've been eating.
Someone said picture of the Nets jersey is crazy.
You saw, did you guys speak about Gil talking on?
That's the screenshot I just showed.
Oh, tough.
Someone said he should be cooked for this. God damn. I can never live that down, can you? I root for my favorite player, James Harden, and all of a sudden it's looked down. I wish people knew the backstory to my jersey.
It was the beanie, bro. The beanie cooked you.
I told you my head was cold.
Come on, man.
My head was cold as hell.
Nets beanie is crazy.
It is nasty.
You rocked any beanie. You chose Nets one, my friend.
I had no beanie. I went to the Nets store.
That was with James Harden. I remember, correct?
Before the trade? Yes,
he was playing that game.
Yes Network
one of
really
his, like
fucking
15 games or whatever it was.
Yeah, Yes Network really panned to me, bro. I was just enjoying my fucking drink, chilling. They panned to me. Oh man, Yes,
It's never easy.
They want to do a solid.
Yeah, it was great quality though. I'm glad they did that. I got a nice memorable moment.
Respect.
Nice.
Maybe I'll be on TV tomorrow.
Now I'll go to Madison Square Garden.
Where are you guys sitting?
We have good seats in like not like the 300s, not courtside, like in between type shit.
So is Tatum playing?
200s.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Tatum is playing. He's off the injury report. Him and Al. Yeah, I got that notification. I took a deep breath. I was just a little bit worried.
How long is Rob Will out for?
7 to 10 days.
Okay, not ideal, not horrible, honestly.
I actually have this friend. His name is on Twitter, Triple M. That's my guy. He's a Knicks fan, die hard. You know, that's my guy for real.
He's just like me.
Last time I went to a Knicks game, he went there, and we were gonna meet up after the game, but I didn't have time to. I'm gonna go to a Knicks game this month.
Tickets are OD right now.
It is. That's why I'm kind of hesitant to go.
When I went to the Lakers game, they were dumb chicken.
I'm trying to go to the Timberwolves game so I can watch Anthony Edwards.
That was actually in one of my group chats. They were talking about going to that game, and like the cheapest one in the 200s was like $220 or something.
It's stupid expensive. That's why it's so hard to go to Knicks games. You know that JC went to the Nets and Rockets game. He went to the Nets and Hornets game. But he told me that the Nets and Rockets game today for the Nets, I think it's like maybe $5 to get in.
Playing the Rockets.
Yeah, I know.
But no, tonight they were playing the Knicks were playing the Hornets, honestly. And the tickets were still dumb expensive.
Yeah, like JC went to the Hornets game.
I would say it's also the Knicks versus the Nets.
Yeah.
Next round.
JC went to the Hornets game. Tickets are so cheap. Like for the Nets, where I sat, I was basically like really close to courtside. I was in the first row before courtside. Paid $200 for those tickets.
Calm.
That is mad calm.
You know, I paid $200 for those tickets. I went to my seats. They gave me the notice of being respectful to players and shit. They put that paper on every single seat, and they give you like something to blow into that turns into something that you can like swing around for the free throws. Yeah, I don't know what it was called.
A clapper, bro.
Yeah, a clapper, whatever it is. But basically, yeah, you know, Nets tickets are very, very cheap and affordable. I know New York and Madison Square Garden will never be that, but I wish it was. I want to go to the Wolves game to watch Ant play. But what I was mentioning about my friend Triple M, this guy is close with the Knicks, man. Like, I don't know what it is, but he's able to get access on court. And if I stay after the game, I could get a picture like center court
that would have been tough
in MSG. So once I get that picture, these accusations are done for. I need that picture to
just because you have a plug doesn't mean shit to us,
I need that picture in the middle of the Knicks logo and at half court.
You need your Julius Randle jersey on. You need your Knicks beanie.
And the caption is going to be diehard Knicks fan, never change.
You want to know what? A real Knicks fan would stand by RJ Barrett, I feel like.
And he would never.
He hasn't developed.
You know who has? You know who has? Andrew Velez. Star J Barrett. And you see he's been tweaking? I think they're playing right now, and I think RJ's having a good ass game.
Santos is
a real Knicks fan talks shit about every player that's on the team.
That's also a valid point.
And the Knicks fandom is so varied. I mean, Julius Randle. If you ask people
RJ,
that cover the
17
Knicks,
in the first half,
nice.
Respect him.
25 items.
I literally took him on a player performance double, 22 tonight, and the Knicks win $50. I put a
easy cash.
But the thing about the Knicks is that when you look at the season Julius Randle played poorly. I mean, they slandered him.
Julius
Randle went through the ringer.
But it was deserved because it was a fall off from his All NBA.
And RJ Barrett definitely was horrible this year.
But last year, RJ was good.
The only reason RJ is getting babied with the Knicks fandom is because we want him to pan out.
It was winning.
It was a third overall pick.
If you guys
the same draft as John Moran and Zion Williamson.
Yeah, I mean, last year in the first half he was horrible. In the second half he was good.
Was Garland that same draft too?
Garbage point.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, I mean, like it's super unfortunate that.
And Jordan Poole was in that same draft too later.
And DeAndre Hunter was.
Yeah, he was in that same draft.
Tyler
Herro too. There's some players in there that are good.
Yeah,
it was a good draft class.
Yeah, it was a good draft class.
But that's the thing with RJ. You know, now this year is where you really see the divide.
His defense has been great though.
No, it has not. RJ Barrett's defense.
I got you.
As of recently has been better.
I got you.
It's been good.
Give me 1 sec. I just sent it to Riv.
What stat is it? Because I watch him play.
I think it's defensive rating, bro.
Defense rating's bullshit.
No, it's his matchup against great guards. Damn, why did delete it?
Because RJ throughout the entire season has shown he can defend, but his effort, his engagement have waned throughout the entire point. There are certain stretches where he doesn't get a box out, doesn't get a closeout. I mean, he's not a good defender. He hasn't been. He can be a good defender when he really is locked in. He can be a Jimmy Butler type of player, but his engagement is not there.
The problem with evaluating RJ Barrett correctly is that
6 matchups against DeMar DeRozan, Scotty Barnes, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, DeJounte Murray, and Darius Garland.
The attempts are there, though.
I'm looking at the game and I'm seeing.
Why don't you look at the attempts? Because the attempts matter. That means that he's guarded them on multiple possessions.
He can defend, but his engagement's not there.
I'm just saying, against the elite of the elite, DeRozan 9 for 25, 36%. Scotty Barnes, he's not.
I know.
Jason Tatum, respect. DeMar DeRozan, respect. Jaylen Brown,
how many shots?
13, 3 for 13. Garland 3 for 10. Jaylen Brown 5 for 14.
The one thing with RJ is that he's really clutch. I'll give him credit for that. Hits a lot of clutch shots. Has the game winners versus the Celtics. He had that one dunk versus the Raptors. But it's just a matter of him being locked in.
I understand. I'm not disagreeing.
Well, listen,
very frustrating.
I want to just make this clear. In the first couple of seasons of RJ's career, no Knicks fan tried to really voice their opinion on him because Knicks fans are ruthless, and
they are.
There was really there was delusional hope.
He's one of the few coddled.
He is
Knicks
coddled
for sure.
There was delusional hope around him, so people didn't want to voice their opinion on him for real because they would get slandered.
They like him.
Yeah, but now this year, that's now starting to change.
Yep.
He's now somebody that we know if we want to get a primetime player. Oh yeah, he's gone. Like he's the first one we're talking about where he's gone. But I will say that I don't really care about talking about RJ's lack of development because the Knicks are having a great season.
Agreed.
And I don't care if he's like this.
What, 19, 20 points. Of course, the efficiency isn't good. Yeah, the efficiency is not good.
Like I think trying to point out the one bad thing with the Knicks is just, why do that? They're having a great season.
Agreed.
Baltimore Ravens, they put the non-exclusive tag on Lamar Jackson. $32 million he's getting. And he can negotiate with other teams freely, but the Ravens can match any offer if he signs or take 2 first-round picks instead. It's important to note that they can still negotiate a sign and trade if something were to happen. This is interesting to me because as soon as the news came out that Lamar Jackson was going to get the non-exclusive tag, I said, wow, teams are going to come and they're going to really offer Lamar Jackson what he wants, and he could get picked up fairly quickly. The Falcons not pursuing Lamar Jackson per Diana ESPN. The Falcons official Twitter saying, retweeting they won't pursue Lamar Jackson. The Panthers minus $3 million in cap space. They announced they're not pursuing Lamar Jackson per league source. It really begs the question, why are these teams not wanting to pursue a former MVP quarterback? Now, I have a couple theories. One of them could be, let's just think of it from a logical standpoint. You don't want to commit $200 million guaranteed to somebody who's been injured in the past 2 seasons, late in a year where you need your quarterback to be healthy, and they worry about his injury long term. Number 2, is there a chance that, we know that these league offices are really close to one another. Is there a chance that, the other teams don't want to offer Lamar a long-term deal because they kind of don't want this player empowerment movement to keep going? I think there is a scenario in there.
That's when you lose me. That's when you lose me. I'm serious.
How much?
What do you mean by that? How much do I get lost?
Do you stop listening to him altogether, or do you still kind of...
No, that idea of the player movement shit, trying to put an end to it because Lamar Jackson represents himself, it's fucking sickening. Like, God forbid someone wants to be in charge of their own decisions, their life. This whole player empowerment, trying to knock that down is really disgusting to me because ultimately what brings the fans to watch the games? The fucking players. Because
the reason why I'm kind of shocked by this is because we just saw the Atlanta Falcons go all in for Deshaun Watson, willing to offer him whatever. Somebody who had some serious legal allegations, who was ultimately, he was found guilty for those.
He wasn't found guilty.
He wasn't found guilty. They dropped.
Settled.
Yeah, correct.
They settled.
Correct.
They settled, which is kind of like the same thing.
It's not though. I'm just saying.
I know. I understand what Joe means. I understand.
I understand what he means, but we know when somebody settles. The Falcons not pursuing an MVP quarterback in Lamar Jackson. Now, do they not want to give 2 future first round picks? Because I can understand that standpoint where the Falcons, they have a lot of cap space, but if they sign Lamar, a lot of that is gone. They don't have a complete roster. They're going to lose 2 first round picks. They have to sign some guys on their team that are good, like Caleb McGarry, who was one of the better guards in the league this year. The Panthers, I don't think, are quite ready to go all in like that.
I agree.
It's definitely shocking, but I think this is also a good thing for the Ravens because it was their chance to show Lamar, like, hey, Lamar, okay, Go see what other teams want. Go see what other teams are willing to give you. So you can see that what we're giving you is fair. And your best option is with the Ravens. So maybe that's an eye-opener for Lamar Jackson and his pursuits of getting a guaranteed contract like Deshaun Watson.
One thing that I've seen on Twitter was from Brett Coleman and said part of this could also be Lamar Jackson wanting a fully guaranteed contract and the other owners seeing what the Browns did and basically saying, we're not doing this shit. We're not giving quarterbacks fully guaranteed contracts. And you want to think it's not true, but like Joel said, these owners are good friends with each other, right?
100%.
You know, there's 32 of them. It's a 1 in a billion type chance you get to own a team, and you have to have a ridiculous amount of money, and you have all these connections, so they talk all the time. And I know owners, that's the one thing they push back on every single time a new CBA comes up. The players always want more guaranteed money. They're never willing to give it to them. So I think that was a great call out by Brett Coleman saying that this could be what it is, because you look around the league. I mean, the Falcons aren't interested. The Panthers, the Dolphins, I know have Tua, but that would be an upgrade. The fact that none of these teams are even want to have a conversation with Lamar, even sit down, get, Derek Carr and the Jets had lunch together. No one is even interested to do that with Lamar Jackson, a guy who won an MVP, a guy who has shown he could carry you to the playoffs, a guy who's shown he could carry an offense to be the number one offense in football. And now no one's interested in him and no one's interested in signing him. That could be one reason. Another reason is if you are a team interested in Lamar Jackson, you do have to give him probably close to $50 million and give up 2 first-round picks. So a lot of the time, especially in recent years, when you see draft picks traded, you don't really know what the pick's going to be, right? Russell Wilson, for example, was traded, and you didn't know what the picks were going to be. For the Falcons, this upcoming draft, or the Panthers, you already know one of these picks, or you're going to give up the 8th overall pick. Am I remembering it correctly? Was the Russell Wilson trade before the draft?
It was before.
It was. So they gave up. So apologize.
Right. So we gave our 2 firsts. We
correct.
gave our 2 seconds, but that first was for the upcoming draft.
Do you remember what pick it was?
It was pick 9.
Okay, so comparable then. Never mind. So part of it can be teams don't want to have to give up multiple first round picks plus the $40 to $50 million to get Lamar Jackson. And I think you have to be in a pretty unique situation where you feel like you are a quarterback away to winning a championship or pursuing a championship. Sure. But then I look at the teams in the NFC. If you get Lamar Jackson, I mean, you're basically guaranteed a playoff win. If he goes to Atlanta with Arthur Smith, Kyle Pitts, Drake London, I mean, there is a strong chance at the minimum they're competing with the Saints. The defense isn't right there. So you
number 2 rush offense in the league also?
Yep.
I mean, come on. It's a perfect fit.
So maybe you don't take him over the Saints because of the defensive issues, but I mean, that's going to be as talented as an offense, expecting Drake London to take a step back and step up
forward, facts.
And Kyle Pitts to get healthy. I mean, you're going to be looking at one of the more explosive passing offenses in the league with Lamar Jackson there. So especially in the NFC side of things,
it's the best weapons he'll ever have.
I don't know. Mark Andrews.
Come on.
That's the list.
Mark Andrews, Hollywood Brown, is that not similar to Kyle Pitts and Drake London?
You understand Drake London's upside is higher than Hollywood's.
It is.
You also understand that Kyle Pitts, his upside, yes, Mark Andrews already solidified his top 3 tight end in the league, but year 1, Kyle Pitts, 1,000.
I know what you're saying, but I'm just saying, like, Mark Andrews in Hollywood is similar to Drake London and Pitts.
And we saw, and now also with Arthur Smith now, not with Greg Roman,
but
with Arthur Smith, that's going to open up a lot more possibilities.
Drake London's different body type than Marquise. Way different body.
Drake's never had a quarterback either. I think Akeem Slovis, of course, but that year they had 4 different NFL receivers.
I mean, I like their offense for sure, but I don't think it's like the best weapons he's ever played with. I think they have to get one more piece.
Watch out.
There's nothing in here.
Oh, okay.
They have to get one more piece, and then I can like comfortably say that. That's all I'm saying.
I don't know. I already feel comfortable with the fact that Kyle Pitts already showed versatility, not only as a great receiving threat, but also a very firm blocker in his own right. And Drake London showing off with Marcus Mariota as his quarterback.
Yeah, we were just talking about Mark Andrews being the best tight end in football last year.
And I don't disagree.
That's what I'm saying.
But then what do you have after that?
Okay, so Mark Andrews and Kyle Pitts, do they not cancel each other out?
I know. We do. We fake do when it comes to Lamar's weapons, what he has in the Ravens. But it's just simple to understand. Yes, Mark Andrews, no doubt about it.
Do him and Pitts not cancel out?
Yeah, at the minimum.
That is true. I would still take Andrews.
Yeah,
that's the thing. I'm taking Andrews.
Drake London and Mark Hollywood. Even if you think London's
I like
better,
Hollywood, so you're talking to the right guy, but I understand Drake's ceiling is higher.
Yeah, I like London more.
I don't know if it's like, I think the change in philosophy for sure.
Because Drake London doesn't drop balls.
London's a dog.
I think
London's crazy.
The change in philosophy for sure. I have nothing to say against that, but in terms of just the sheer weapons, Offensive line in Baltimore.
Tyler Algiers, no
Mark
scrub.
Andrews.
You know that.
Yeah,
Cordell
J.K.
Patterson's no scrubs.
Dobbins.
That's a fact.
It's good too.
But the most important key to that puzzle is Lamar Jackson, because they're already great rushing in their own right. Now you add Lamar Jackson, immediately launches to the number 1 rush offense in the league. Immediately.
No doubt.
Oh, I'm not signing at that. I'm signing at Deshaun Watson's contract.
No, it's crazy.
Look, Lamar is an amazing quarterback, but basing any precedent off of what the Cleveland Browns set is something the NFL will never do, right? The Browns giving Deshaun a 5-year, fully guaranteed $230 million contract is beyond ludicrous, and not even a year later, they want to restructure it. The Browns, they're their own separate party. The rest of the NFL operates with some sense of understanding. They're desperate, right? Deshaun did not want to go there, right? He's thinking about going to Atlanta, where he's from, and then the Browns like, oh, we're not going to get you. We're going to go and give you everything. So for Lamar, I'd be willing to guarantee him upwards to $170 million. But the one thing that we have to acknowledge is the last 2 years, he's only finished 1 game in December. And that's led to his team's downfall in the playoffs, where they could have beat the Bengals with him. And, you can say, okay, well, if Lamar's in the mix, the Ravens have a window to winning a championship. They can compete. But the ultimate issue is, once you pay him $45 million, you have so much pressure on you in the draft to nail a receiver, because if you don't, you will never be good enough if you're giving Lamar that much money. Lamar's great, top 7 quarterback, MVP, a winner, 70% winning percentage because of him being the system. It's not because, Brock Purdy, he's helping to allocate, helping win games. No, Lamar is the system. Yeah. But we have to wonder, have we seen the peak of Lamar Jackson? Because he hasn't been healthy in December, and we've also seen him in an offense that did maximize him. As a thrower of the football, he can still develop, but maybe that doesn't happen. So that's another thing for all of these teams. Like, okay, would I rather take your quarterback in the draft, take my risk, 70% chance to miss, but I also know I'm going to keep those 2 first-round picks opposed to spending them. I'm going to save that salary cap opposed to going all in, where if I'm a team like the Falcons, I'm not ready to go to the playoffs. I'm not ready to get there defensively. So you have to stay true to yourself in your timeline. You can't splurge for Lamar Jackson if you're not going to put him in a position to win a championship.
If I'm one of these teams and Lamar Jackson becomes available to me and I don't have a quarterback, it's fucking simple. I'm making the move. I'm getting Lamar Jackson. Yes, he hasn't been healthy these last 2 seasons. And this year, there was the question of whether or not his injury was the real reason why he didn't play, or the real reason he didn't play was because he didn't have any guaranteed money. He did not have that long-term deal. And people were trying to speculate that if he had the contract, that he probably would have suited up. I don't think that was the case. I think, one, Lamar Jackson's a gamer. I think Lamar Jackson, if he was available to play, he would have put himself in position to play. But quite simply, I've never seen an MVP disrespected the way that Lamar Jackson has. The closest I've seen is Cam Newton. And Cam Newton, the only difference here is that Cam's strength was running, but he also was a very good passer. The injury to his shoulder diminished that, and it was evident in his game, and that's the difference why Cam Newton's disrespect is different from Lamar Jackson, where Lamar Jackson's disrespect stems from he has not played in December. He has not been known to be a consistent passer, but if you actually look at the numbers, not this season, but the year prior, he's improved as a passer. This year was the worst that he has been as a passer, but that really didn't matter because they were still tied for first in his division with the Bengals, who ended up going to the AFC Championship game. Lamar Jackson, John put it perfectly, is the system. Lamar Jackson is, if you wanted to say the best rushing quarterback in the game, that's 100% valid. Yes, Justin Fields has thrown himself in that conversation, but who set the standard as a rushing quarterback? Mm-hmm. It's Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson, with the limited skill positions that he has next to him, has continued to win games. And you don't want to say that winning is a quarterback stat, but when you're Lamar Jackson and you're as skilled as you are, not just passing, but of course rushing the football, then it starts to apply to you because you manage the game in a much more different way than other quarterbacks do. For him to have teams not even be interested to entertain bringing him in is baffling to me. It makes no sense. He is one of the most skilled players in this league. And you put him in a team like the Atlanta Falcons, like the Detroit Lions, where they already have the situation in place, but you just need that next tier quarterback. And you give him an offensive line that's fantastic, like the Detroit Lions. You give him Amon-Ra St. Brown. You give him DeAndre Swift, Jamal Williams. DeAndre Swift, who we'll see what's going to happen with him, of course. You give him a Jameson Williams. See what happens. And I know for a fact when Lamar Jackson comes back, he's going to be motivated. I'm not even this huge Lamar Jackson fan, but I've become more and more a fan of his, seeing the disrespect blatantly put in his face. And that's what really does not sit right with me.
Listen, he's an elite quarterback, and the only thing I disagree with is the Cam Newton point. I think Cam Newton was inaccurate. He was an inaccurate quarterback.
No, I'm with you.
I think Lamar Jackson is a far better passer than him. Like, you look at...
No, I don't disagree with that point at all.
No, yeah.
I say he fell off as a passer after that shoulder injury where he was already
I don't think he fell off,
bad.
though. Like, if you look at his first, I think, let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4,
He threw
5,
35
6,
passing touchdowns, and I think he had 50 total because he had 15 rushing his MVP year.
In his first 7 seasons, he completed 58% of his passes.
He was never accurate.
Yeah, he was never accurate. Even his MVP year, he completed 59.8% of his passes. Lamar Jackson, his MVP year, completed
and
66%.
But another thing with that, where I want to use context with Cam, is he never had an X.
No.
The first year that he had an X, his rookie season with Steve Smith,
it's similar to
phenomenal. Kelvin Benjamin wasn't even healthy the year that he was an MVP.
Yeah, he was not good. And he was injured. You're right. But, I mean, they had Greg Olsen, and Ravens had Mark Andrews. Greg Olsen was a top. Yeah, too. And then they had D'Angelo Williams and Jonathan.
And he played with
Stewart,
TMC also.
Yeah.
First
time, yeah. I just think Lamar Jackson, yeah, you're right. I don't know why these teams aren't going after him. You know, more and more, I want Lamar to go to the Lions. I think the Lions are a perfect fit for Lamar Jackson. But more and more, I'm thinking, hey, maybe Lamar Jackson's going to the Raiders. They have the 5th most cap space.
They said they aren't interested. Also, the Raiders
said they aren't either.
They aren't, and the Raiders also have a cash flow problem where that their owner just doesn't really have the money. So when you sign these guaranteed contracts, the owners basically have to put the money in escrow. So you get $150 million guaranteed. That money goes in escrow. It's not like you give $30 million each year. That money has to be put away at that time. So Mark Davis, is that the owner? Al Davis said. Mark Davis, apparently there's an issue in terms of cash flow that might limit them to sign the $200 million guaranteed contract.
Yeah, because looking at the teams, the Commanders have said they're out of it. The Giants have signed Daniel Jones. The Raiders are out of it. The Falcons, Panthers, they've said they're not interested. The Texans, they have a high enough pick to draft a quarterback, so they probably are not going to get Lamar Jackson. That just leaves the Lions and the Tennessee Titans, possibly.
Maybe the Jets falls through with Rodgers too.
If Rodgers,
but then you're in the AFC now, so
higher price tag maybe.
Yeah. Even though if they just sign it, they just have to give up 2 first. So I don't know how they could get more. Like that's just like the rule, you know.
I'm just not sure why so many teams are out on Lamar and how those reports came out so quickly. Like not even 30 minutes after. Every team happens to be out.
The Atlanta Falcons Twitter retweeting that they are not in on the Lamar Jackson sweet states.
I'm going to see if they still have it up or if they unretweeted it.
That shit is disgusting.
They may be in purgatory in the next 4 years with Desmond Ridder. Wasting your time. Probably he's not going to be the franchise guy. It's wild.
I'd rather have Will Levis.
I would rather. I feel like there's a pretty limited ceiling.
They're crazy for that, dude.
That is wild. I'd be careful what you wish for.
Like you said it so well, they were all in on trying to get Deshaun Watson, but they're just blatantly
makes no sense.
Like I can't.
Quarterback who leads and hasn't blown a 24-point playoff game.
I mean, it's against Mahomes.
I mean, Deshaun doesn't touch Mahomes. We know that.
Hey, he caught him this year. Didn't Lamar beat Kansas City this year?
No, I'm talking about Deshaun.
Was it this year?
Oh.
It was last year.
With Clyde's fumble?
Facts. It was last year. Facts.
So we'll touch on this briefly. Derrick Henry, potential trade destinations.
Here we go.
I mean, what's going on with Derrick Henry? His odds to
it's my king.
Broncos.
The top 5 teams with odds to get Derrick Henry. The Bills are plus 300.
Miami.
The Dolphins are plus 400. The Giants plus 500. The Ravens plus 600 and the Saints plus 700.
I'm surprised no Eagles. Last I saw the Eagles are at plus 500 also.
Oh, wow. I saw the Eagles right here where I have it is plus 1,200.
Oh, shit. Oh, that might be chopped then.
These ones are always weird because there's usually like offshore books that do it.
Okay. So I'll say this. I want to speak about the Titans first. What happened?
Offshore books. Never heard that term before.
Oh, nice.
Good job, bro.
You know, I said I want to talk about the Titans, but no, I want to talk about Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry being available to other teams, that's super intriguing to me. If I'm a team like Buffalo, who has just not had a running back, but I believe in James Cook. I don't think it's essential that Buffalo needs to go out and get Derrick Henry, but if Derrick Henry's available for the right price, you go get him because he's still got, at least in my opinion, 2 years of being that dominant force that he has been. and you give him an offensive line that actually has some push and he's not being met behind the line of scrimmage, I'm assuming that Derrick Henry is going to continue to be the workhorse and be the dominant force that he is. And especially you put him on a team that has a quarterback that you're not just 100% selling out for the run every single time. Yes, this is only going to be beneficial for Derrick Henry. So my 3 teams that I have the Buffalo Bills, which, again, I don't feel it's essential where I believe in James Cook, but again, it's Derrick Henry. You go and you get him if the price is right for you, being Buffalo. Number 2, the Philadelphia Eagles, where, yes, they do have the number 10 overall pick, and Bijan Robinson probably could be staring you right in the face. Would you want to solidify your secondary a little bit more by drafting a corner at 10 and then bringing in Derrick Henry? That's intriguing to me. You add Derrick Henry to that offense. That's essentially the equivalent of bringing Bijan. Of course, the difference is Bijan would be younger and you'd have him on the rookie deal. And the last team would be Miami, where Miami has missed the one part of their offense that they have missed desperately is the running back. You have Tyreek Hill, you have Jalen Waddle, where they kill you with speed. What you need is that bruiser, one that could kill some clock, and no one in the National Football League is better at it than Derrick Henry. So these are the 3 teams. If I had to say which would be impacted the most by acquiring Derrick Henry, I firmly believe it would be the Philadelphia Eagles. You can't stop that offense if Derrick Henry's on that team. With that offensive line, with Jalen Hurts at quarterback, Devonta Smith, and A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert, now you add Derrick Henry, it becomes probably the best, most talented offense we've ever seen in this game. And then to talk about the Titans and their downfall, they're going to be in the Caleb Williams sweepstakes, no doubt about it. Their quarterback situation, mediocre. Of course, you do have Ryan Tannehill, but what is he really doing for you with a team where Treylon Burks and Okonkwo are your 2 best weapons? Treylon, who was hurt to start the season, got things going, but then had that unfortunate bad hit in the end zone where he did end up missing the rest of the season. That was pretty messed up. But what are the Titans doing here? What is their outlook? They're not really competing for the division, in my opinion. Their defense is not good. They were the worst pass defense in the league. Their rush defense isn't bad. They do have some talented players on the defense, but that does not matter because their secondary is so atrocious. The offensive line's not good. The pass blocking, the run blocking, it's not good at all. They were too Derrick Henry centric, and it caught up with them, and they ended up losing the division that they had such a firm lead over. So if I'm the Titans, it's simple to me. I try my hardest to get the number 1 overall pick so I have a direction, because right now they don't have one.
You want to know what they messed up on? It was John Robinson, their former GM, just shelling out one contract after another, and injuries coming. Bud Dupree's giving them nothing. They inked him to a long.
He's getting released. Yeah, he's getting released.
He's probably going to get released. You talk about Taylor Lewan, who had 2 ACL tears. Ryan Tannehill, of course, is getting his money.
Can't pay A.J. Brown, though. No way.
No, and the one player who you need and has been one of the best players on your team, you say, nah, get out of here, bro.
And then Robert Woods, he was obviously not the same player coming off the torn ACL. That offensive line needs work. It was really a matter of that. They didn't draft terribly. They had some misses, right? They definitely have had some pretty big ones, specifically Caleb Farley. But when you look at the team, they had a lot of good draft picks. It's a matter of kind of like your boy Dave Gettleman at the Giants, just really questionable cap decisions that long-term ate away at that team and their flexibility. Now for Derrick Henry, $16 million cap hit, $10 million in dead. I don't think the Eagles will be in play here simply because I think they'd rather just draft a running back. Like, running back is the most replaceable position in all of professional sports. The Steelers took Najee in the first round. Travis Etienne won in the first round. Javonte Williams goes in the second. 3 of the most productive backs in that class. Ramondre Stevenson, 4th rounder. Elijah Mitchell, day 3 pick. And then Khalil Herbert, another day 3 pick, because those running backs come in as complementary feature pieces. They're not starters day 1, and they turn out to be more productive. They stay healthy longer. If I'm Philadelphia, for as amazing a player as Derrick Henry is, I'd rather use my resources and significantly less cap space on the running back position. That way I can get a more necessary and a harder to find premium position, such as cornerback, defensive tackle, or even another receiver in the slot.
I will say that Jonathan Jones from CBS came out and said the Titans are not shopping Derrick Henry after the report was made.
So what's the fucking point of having this conversation?
No, but even if they were shopping him, though, I don't think teams were going to go jumping at the bits to trade for Derrick Henry.
I don't think so. It is Derrick Henry.
I don't think so. I don't. I really don't.
Not chopping at the bits. I agree with that. You're not giving up a first. You're probably not giving up a second.
The Bills have been unwilling to go for any running back. The Dolphins are the only one that I look at and it's likely. The Giants, I mean, let's be serious. The Ravens, I don't think so. The Saints, I don't think so.
I think it would be one of the AFC contenders. I feel like one of those teams maybe looking for something to get them over the hump. That was one of the teams I was like one of the type of teams I was looking for.
Joe Mixon is, I think he's potential cut right now.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, because Samaje Perine played better than him
So
this
the
year.
Bengals, it would not be crazy
Spin-
to see Derrick Henry go and suit up for the Bengals also.
Well,
Because
they
that's
have
a
a lot of
perfect
cap
replacement.
questions. Like,
It's also
just like
true.
someone like Belichick would trade for, like not get a receiver and get Derrick Henry instead.
I
Ramondre
just
and
think that
Derek
when
just
it comes
beast ball.
to,
That'd be awesome.
we know Derrick Henry's elite. I think the start of the Titans' downfall, and that's what I'm really going to touch on most, is they had a season where they exceeded expectations. That's really it. 2019 season. I mean, or was it 2018? It was 2018 or 20.
No, you got it.
19
It
That
was
the year that they beat
2019.
Lamar, 2019.
Yeah, 2019.
beat Brady round one.
Yeah, I mean, you beat Lamar Jackson, an MVP. Ryan Tannehill has an amazing half of a season. They beat Brady. They go to the AFC Championship. They're up on the Chiefs, and they lose the game. They had a season where they shocked everybody. Tannehill in 2020 has another amazing season, and you got to pay this quarterback. And then you pay this quarterback who has a great season, but is actually an average quarterback, and now you're stuck. You can't make many moves to improve your roster. I thought that the icing on the cake was they swung for the fences on Julio Jones. And it didn't work. I thought that the AJ Brown, Julio, Derrick Henry,
Aren't alone.
core was going to be exceptional.
You
It
are
did
not
not
alone.
work. And ultimately, they tried to go all in. It didn't work. And they're stuck with a quarterback that isn't that good. I think that if I'm the Titans, Lamar Jackson is somebody I'm looking at to try to go get.
You think so?
Are they
Yeah.
ready to win with him?
I think
anywhere Lamar goes, he'll win.
You just do it.
I just feel like I would rather say fuck it. Put the season to bed. We're not good. Our defense is not good. Our offense, nothing of our offense is good. Simple as that. Let's go and get Caleb Williams. Let's try our hardest to lose every single fucking game and get one of the better
Are they
prospects.
going
It's
to
hard
be
to
able
make
to do
Vrabel.
that with Mike Vrabel?
It's hard to do that because he
That's
is
true.
the definition of
Yeah.
overachieving. But I'm sorry, but if you invest $250 million in 2 first-round picks, Lamar Jackson, you're doing that to win a Super Bowl, not get the fucking first round of the playoffs.
You're right.
Let's be very clear.
You're
now.
right.
You're doing that to put him in a position to hold the Lombardi Trophy.
You also
and
understand.
anything short of that is a disappointment.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. It's just that Trevor Lawrence is in your division, and that worries you if you're the Titans.
It does.
If
Yeah,
you
that's
do not
why
have
I
a
moved over.
franchise quarterback or the idea of a franchise quarterback, if you're the Titans, what do you're worried about one guy, and that's Trevor Lawrence,
Yeah.
because you fear that he's going to dominate that division for the rest of his career.
It could be 3. If the Colts get Anthony Richardson
Fair.
and the Texans get Bryce Young, you're now looking at that entire division saying, holy cow, we're the only team that doesn't have a quarterback long term.
Yeah.
That's
That's
the
an
bigger
issue.
issue. Like, you
That's
would think
facts, John.
Ryan Tannehill came to the league at 24. He's 34 years old.
Yeah.
Like, I thought he was like 31, 32. He's been 2012, 2013.
The injuries
he is
kind
old.
of erased some years, unfortunately for him.
True.
He's also on the last year of his contract, and they could cut him. It's like really it's like 18 in dead mill, 17 in cap savings, so it's not like a huge financial relief or anything. But for the Titans, it makes more sense now that they don't want to trade Derrick Henry, because it doesn't make much sense that you would keep Tannehill and trade Henry,
Yeah.
especially because there was
That's a
rumors
fact.
around Tannehill being
Forget
available.
And they've said
Okay.
they're sticking with Tannehill this year.
Yeah, so it'd be kind of a weird situation that Tannehill would fetch you something on the open market if you really want to rebuild and say, we want to see what Malik Willis has. You say that to the public, and you just hope you lose as many games as possible, like Drew mentioned. But I think that this Titans downfall is part of the topic. Just goes to show you what happens when you pay a good quarterback great money. Tannehill, like you mentioned, Joel, that 2019 season, they go to the AFC Championship game. Round 1, they beat Brady. That's his last year in Brady, but still the dynasty. It's New England. No one, I don't really remember around that time who was expected to win. But at home, I imagine
Titans
the
were not.
Patriots were definitely favored at
That was
the
the year
least.
that the Patriots defense was unbelievable.
Yes, facts.
Sorry,
Yeah, the
99
offense
choked.
the offense wasn't that great, but their defense was ridiculously elite. But I went back because I really didn't remember that game. He played New England, right? The first game, he was 8 for 15, 72 yards, an interception, and 2 fumbles. Then he
Mention
played
Derrick Henry,
Baltimore.
200 yards
I
plus.
was getting to it.
Okay.
Then they played Baltimore. He went 7 for 14 for 88 yards. Did have 3 total touchdowns. Derrick Henry, I don't know how this man was standing, because against New England, he went 34 rushes for 182 yards, then went for 30 rushes for 195 yards against Baltimore.
All-timer.
Just absolutely backpacking them. to 2 wins, something I don't know if we'll ever see again in this modern version of the NFL.
No way.
But because of that, even though he got paid, they always thought that this core with Tannehill leading the way would be able to get you to a Super Bowl. Oh, Jesus Christ. Even no matter how great, no matter how great Derek Henry is, it's just very, very, very hard for a running back to be your best player on offense to lead you to a Super Bowl. Tannehill was never able to really get over that hump. Although they were up on Kansas City, it never really felt like that was a game they were going to win, right? So no matter how great A.J. Brown was and Derek Henry and trading for Julio, no matter what they did, at the end of the day, it was Ryan Tannehill who was getting paid like a great quarterback, although he was just always good.
So going on to AFC offseason questions, because I think this is interesting. AFC East, going to start off with the AFC East. Bills, Dolphins, Jets, Patriots. For the Bills, my biggest question mark for them is the offensive line and running game. I think it's clear they need another weapon outside of Stephon Diggs that's an elite option. For the Dolphins, I have defensive backs that just cut Byron Jones. Linebackers, they could use a running game. With Vic Fangio, maybe his concepts bring out the better of this defense because it hasn't been very good the past couple of seasons. Even with Brian Flores, they gave up a lot of yards. The Jets, it's simple. Quarterback, go get Aaron Rodgers. And the Patriots, offensive help for Mac Jones. I think Mac Jones paired with Bill O'Brien again, he's going to have a good season. I think he's going to have a really good season.
Definitely got to upgrade that offensive line, though. Trent Brown at left tackle wasn't great, and right tackle was sliding doors to go alongside the need for number one wide receivers. They have a couple more needs.
Jacoby Myers, a free agent, he's been their best receiver. The Bills, I agree. I thought defense could use some help as well. As they honestly, for a team as good as on paper we thought they were, it seems like they have a lot of holes. Also, I think you do need another weapon opposite of Stephon Diggs. The Dolphins, I think the biggest question is around Tua. Is he going to be able to stay healthy this upcoming season? They have to make a decision on his 5th year, I believe. I don't know if they've made that decision yet. I'm assuming they're going to pick him up. And then they still have to improve the offensive line and the defense. Patriots, it's getting weapons. Jacoby Myers, they never pay their receivers, and Jacoby Myers, I don't think is talented enough to warrant being the outlier that the Patriots pay. So I assume he leaves, and the Jets, it's quarterback.
Biggest question for the New England Patriots for the past however many seasons, it seems like forever now, is wide receiver. With Jacoby Myers being a free agent, they need to either draft a wide receiver or go out and get one. You can't continue to put Mac Jones down in the fire and have him throwing to no one. For the Buffalo Bills, it's wide receiver. Josh Allen has had to play hero ball, and now he's gotten into the mentality that he needs to be better than he actually does. And now it's kind of, we saw him have his first real hiccup against the Bengals. You need to supply him with weapons. It's simple as that. The best way to allow your franchise quarterback to feel comfortable is to provide him with those weapons. Stephon Diggs is obviously one of the best X's in the game, but that simply isn't enough. Joel mentioned it. You need to have at least 2, and they only have 1, in my opinion. With the Miami Dolphins, it's got to be defense. Vic Fangio bringing him in obviously was a great tone setter. I think that they do have some solid personnel there, but I think you do need to address that secondary, bolster that up with Xavier Howard getting older, probably the worst that we've seen him in his amazing career. For him to be the worst that we've seen him, and then Byron Jones to not be on the team anymore, or projected to not be on the team anymore, you need to address the secondary. And then lastly, the Jets, perfectly said, the quarterback. The defense is elite. I think you guys have some really solid skill position players. You know my opinion on Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall. You know my opinion on Elijah Moore. I believe in him, especially if the right quarterback is in place. And if Aaron Rodgers comes to town, things get exciting. Don't leave him hanging. Things get exciting.
Garrett Wilson, Clearest Keenan.
Take
Garrett.
Bucks are selling all my boom picks.
Yo, tell me how Mark Williams, bro, I think he has 1 rebound now. Had 0 rebounds in the first half.
Tell me how today I took Chris Middleton on the under 18.5.
He's got 24.
I understood that Drew Holiday and Giannis weren't playing.
What are you doing?
Listen, my gut told me to take the over. But then I looked at Chris Middleton, bro. He just hasn't been very good.
He's averaged 16 points over his last 10 outings. The over-under is at 18.5. I took the under. I also took the over on Brook Lopez rebounds. 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter. He has 5.
Are they winning?
They are winning. It's Magic. And then I also took...
And Magic have a good defense. I thought that, it might limit.
Not really. Then I took Bobby Portis to 17 points or more. He currently has... Oh, wait. He's gotten 5 points in the last minute. So Bobby Portis, I think 1 more point from him. He'll do his
Nice.
Now,
Good
AFC
deal.
West, this is what I have. I think the Chiefs need to tackle. They franchise tagged Orlando Brown, and they just cut Frank Clark on the defensive line. And last year, right tackle was whoever it was, Andrew Wiley. Your left tackle was Orlando Brown, and he wasn't as good as he was in his Baltimore days. So the Chiefs just need to overhaul that tackle.
Yeah.
They need those two positions, and you need more defensive linemen. Frank Clark now being out is huge because in the playoffs, he turns into an elite pass rusher. So they need to maybe fill these holes in the draft. For the Chargers, it's a speedy wide receiver.
Can I ask you a question? Do you think George Karlaftis is going to try and be that replacement now?
That's why they
No, I
drafted him.
think George
Oh, yeah?
Karlaftis is going to be a part of it, but
Yeah.
I don't think with Chris Jones and Karlaftis it's enough.
It's enough. I agree.
I think that
I agree. I'm just curious.
you need to keep allocating resources to
Agreed.
that
It's
position.
Pretty wild to me that Frank Clark is third all time in postseason sacks.
That is pretty crazy,
None.
actually.
You slept on him.
What?
Slept
That's
on
what he's paid to
Did
do.
I?
For the Chiefs,
Slept on
I don't remember having a Frank Clark conversation.
I don't know if I've ever had an opinion on Frank Clark either.
Chargers speedy wide receiver.
No doubt.
Raiders quarterback. That's obvious. I think that's going to end up being Jimmy Garoppolo.
I
do.
feel the same way.
Josh Jacobs got tagged, and the Broncos offensive line, specifically the right side. And listen, I think that
Okay.
Russell Wilson needs to be good.
Wake the fuck up.
No, that's
He needs to be good.
that's by far and away the biggest question if you're the Broncos. You know the defense is good. That was the question coming in. You had no worries about the offense. And now the pressure's all on Russell Wilson. The best thing we could have done was bring in Sean Payton because there's going to be no one better available this offseason to fix that. We have a huge cap hit that we're going to have to worry about for the next however many seasons. We brought in the perfect guy to try and resolve that issue. And I believe in Russell Wilson. But yes, nevertheless, that is the biggest question of the Denver Broncos. The Chargers, I'm with you. I think you need to bring in that speedy receiver. Herbert showed that, yes, he can still do it with limited resources, but it's better to provide your franchise quarterback with the stud wide receiver because you want him to feel like he can make any throw confidently to his guys. But also, we need to work on that interior defensive line. The fact that their rush defense for 2 straight seasons has been horrendous, that needs to get fixed. With Khalil Mack being most likely being cut, I don't know if that's official yet, but it's seeming like that's going to be a salary issue, a salary cap issue. Now, I believe that Khalil Mack might get cut as well. But you need to focus on that interior defensive line. No more allowing teams to just gash you with the run. As for the Chiefs, I guess if I had to say something, it would be offensive line because you always want to protect your franchise, Patrick Mahomes.
The NFL's face.
But the fact that, and also, I will say this, you do need a receiver. I understand Patrick Mahomes can work with limited. He did it with Juju, McCole Hardman, MVS. No, can we do something? I'm sure if I'm Mahomes, I don't want to do this again.
Zay Flowers, baby.
Sure. DeAndre Hopkins, potentially. I'll die if that happens, but apparently that's in the realm of possibility. Get him a real receiver.
I would love to see DJ Moore in Kansas City.
I don't need to see that.
Of course you don't. You would hate it. Now, for the Chiefs, Orlando Brown kind of drives me crazy because with an offensive lineman, you can be good for 1 or 2 years, and then you can regress every year since. But the name value of a tackle, it's hard to actually measure how good you are, will carry you. And Orlando Brown's gotten worse and worse. He had some good moments last year, but definitely for the Chiefs, need to upgrade that. For the Chargers, they'll save $18 million if they do cut Mack, $27 million cap hit. The Khalil Mack trade was basically the Julio Jones trade last year, where name value, oh my God, you put Julio Jones and AJ Brown together, and then Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa. Like, oh my God. Reality is neither of those two teams won a playoff game. That Charger team needs a lot more things than just explosiveness. They need a better running back.
Respect.
Let me speak.
Running back's the
here we
first
go.
position you go to, John.
Austin Eckler debate.
Stop listening to this guy.
Let me speak. Part of the reason why they blew that game to the Jaguars because Austin Eckler is not a bell cow runner, which is
Nobody
fine.
could run the
He's a
ball.
great
4.7
rusher.
yards a carry. Respect.
I don't care if you're losing playoff games and you have a 20-plus point lead. The issue is that he's never had a 20-carry game in his entire career. It's not who he is.
Damn.
So he's probably
I didn't
better.
even know that.
He's probably better as a complimentary back, a 1-2 punch. That's okay.
Complimentary.
He's
That's
Darren
okay, bro.
Sproles.
That's where the
40
NFL is, buddy.
touchdowns in 2 seasons.
You love teams getting knocked down in the first
40.
round. You love teams getting knocked down in the first round. Plus, I love teams that win Super Bowls. And for the Chargers, they want to win a Super Bowl.
Maybe the
They need
defense
to
could get
better
a
running
damn
back in
stop.
there.
Maybe the defense could get a damn
Well,
stop.
they got 5 interceptions. What do you mean? 5 turnovers. Get the fuck out of here with
They were
that.
up by, what, 27 points?
Yeah, it would help you. You could run the football. So we're
Oh,
supposed to do
my
this.
God.
Running the football is a foundational element to tough football teams, and the Chargers have lacked that. They don't run the football enough.
Mike Williams is
Eckler's-
healthy. Who knows?
They still lost. I don't
Oh,
care.
my
That's the NFL. What do you want to do?
Come on, dude.
I mean, they need a better running back to complement Austin Eckler, is what I'm saying. better than Joshua Kelly. I wasn't saying a better running back than
Josh Kelly's-
Austin Eckler.
Bro
They need a
said,
better runner, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Eckler is a great player, but he's kind of limited in what he can do as runner. We can accept that.
Drew
The
loves
Chargers need a
Austin
better
Eckler.
running back. They definitely
Drew.
need a healthy Rashawn
Drew.
Slater.
Like I'm the only person in the world who understands.
You're the Austin Eckler truther at the table.
hey, bro,
why
I mean,
why do I get deemed this shit?
is
man?
it not crazy that
It's
he's never
true.
had
I like
over?
Austin Eckler too.
No,
but
it's
I don't-
fucking nuts.
He's never
I'm
had
not
over
the
That's
20
Austin
fucking
Eckler
carries.
guy.
nuts. Is that if that's true? That's insane.
What?
That he's never had 20 carries in a
Career
game.
high was 19 in October of 2020.
Holy shit!
That's because he's not a bell cow, though.
He averages 4.7 yards a carry. If he was asked to do it, he could do it.
Cordell Patterson
Respect
averages 5 yards a carry. Is he a bell cow running back?
He's not.
Okay.
So what's the point you're trying to make here,
Said
John?
he
Cordell
averages more
is
yards per
highly
carry than
efficient.
Eckler.
So
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I thought.
No,
There's
no,
always.
John
I'm
was
a
about to
tired
say-
of hearing this.
John said-
one thing with the
John
Chargers too,
said-
that J.C. Jackson contract, a
Not
$30
great.
million cap
Not
hit.
great. Not great.
Yeah.
Not
That's he only played 5 games, and he was,
Got
in all due respect, he was not the same player.
I'm not gonna
Before
lie,
tearing
that
his
that
ACL,
comment
man.
that comment kind of cooks you when he said they got 500 steps to get the.
great.
Nah, that shit was lit. That was a great comeback. That was a great comeback. I mean, you're right. I mean, defense did what the fuck they could in the first half.
I was gonna say second half. It was
Oh, bro.
completely fucking different.
I think the real problem with the Chargers was that offensively they didn't get anything going on.
Oh, facts.
And having Kellen Moore there, I think will definitely help.
Oh, big time.
For the Chiefs, I think there's a few things, but number one, I think they're going to get a new shiny little toy for Patrick Mahomes. I think they're going to go out there and get someone big. They were in talks last year to get AJ Brown, which came out this offseason. So I think they're going to go out and try to make a splash for Mahomes. For the Chargers, I'm curious how they're going to improve this team with $21 million over the cap. And the two players that saves the most money is Khalil Mack and Keenan Allen. I know Khalil Mack might not have the best season, but I still think he's one of their better defenders. Keenan Allen, obviously, still one of their better receivers, not their best, depending on how you feel about Mike Williams. For the Raiders, as we mentioned, it's quarterback, defense needs help. And for the Broncos, it just came out a couple of days ago that Courtland Sutton is potentially on the trade block. I like Jerry Jeudy a lot. I think he has high potential. He could be a top 20 type receiver in the NFL. But I also worry that if you go into next season with just Jeudy, Patrick off an injury, KJ Hamler, that isn't a great receiver room by any means. And, Russell Wilson was coming off his worst year of his career. I would hope that we could figure out a way to keep Courtland Sutton and keep this Sutton and Jeudy combination.
Are you ready? You know how we fix that?
No.
We trade a second and Courtland Sutton.
Yeah.
And guess who comes to town?
Hopkins?
DeAndre Hopkins.
Okay, here we go. Everyone's getting Hopkins.
Joel Embiid has 39 on Gobert right now.
That's insane.
AFC North. The questions I have for them: a linebacker to replace Jermaine Pratt. They need to find a linebacker to replace him. A cornerback to replace Eli Apple because he's going to be gone. And I would love for them to get a new toy for Joe Burrow.
What?
A tight end. And, right, this past season I had Hayden Hurst, but what if in the first round they go for, or second round, Darnell Washington
They draft all linemen.
or Dalton Kincaid? I don't think their offensive line's an issue anymore.
Like, else gonna get cut?
Our boy Sands wants Bijan. I
Bijan,
don't know if he's gonna be there, but
that would be
That'd be lit.
deadly.
But with Lyle getting cut, now
Lyle's
you have a
getting cut,
question at right
definitely?
tackle.
Really?
It's looking like it.
Because they don't guarantee like an offensive lineman or any player's contract usually after the first season. Lyle he didn't play well, but like they needed him.
He was
a lot.
solid.
They played well
He
in
took-
the second
for
half.
sure.
Of the season.
He
Second
took
half
on
he did.
tough matchups, and so you get exposed often. The Bengals are in a tough spot because you have Joe Burrow. The window's open, but do you trade T. Higgins? I mean, getting a first-round pick for him is in the realm of possibility. But at the same time, there's another question. It's what you do with the offensive line. And there's some pretty big questions there at tackle that like you need to upgrade those spots, surely. And defensively, I think Taylor Britt played well enough. Mike Hilton's still a high-level player. They're going to be fine defensively, keeping Lou Anarumo. But the biggest question, Joel, it's by far, I think, the tackle spots, making sure Jonah Williams is the same coming off the
fact.
injuries. And then hopefully getting a better running back. I do think Joe Mixon's overrated.
Are you going to keep going through yours?
The Ravens, they have to pay Lamar Jackson to trade him. I think that's easy. What are they going to do with Lamar? That's the biggest question mark. What do they do with Lamar Jackson? What happens? The Steelers, defensive back. I think the cornerback room, that's a question mark. But mostly it's Matt Canada. Can he improve? Can he finally
Probably
be a good
not.
play caller?
probably not.
And that's my question. And Browns is Deshaun Watson going to be back? Because if he's not, this move could be one of the most disastrous ones in NFL history.
I won't be mad if it succeeds Russell Wilson.
I have, sorry, I was going to go really quick. I have basically all the same ones. Ravens with Lamar, Steelers. I think you need corner, linebacker potentially too.
Yes.
I also think a difference maker on offense. I know I like Deontay Johnson, Pickens, obviously, but it still feels like you could use another dog there, even though you have Freiermuth and Najee. Browns, obviously, Deshaun Watson is number one. I do think it gets back to it. So outside of that, I think their front seven can use some help. Donovan Peoples-Jones was really good this year. I also think they could probably use another weapon, but that contract is a ton. And the Bengals. The biggest one is they have to be smart with their money, right? I know they want to make upgrades all these places, but your window is slowly not closing, but in terms of keeping Burrow on a rookie contract, Higgins on a rookie contract, Chase, that all ends very, very soon. Within the next couple of years, you're going to have to pay these guys. So this offseason, I know, people wanted to make a big splash. This might be their last season to be able to do that before they have to start really paying their guys big money.
Biggest question for the Ravens gets out the way is Lamar Jackson, that whole situation. He is essential to the Ravens' success, but again, you want to make sure that you get adequate compensation if you're going to move on from Lamar Jackson. Talking about the Steelers, I think their weapons room is fine, in my opinion. I still think that Deontay will be all right. Yes, he did have a disappointing regression season, but I think that he'll be okay, especially George Pickens. I believe in his upside. We understand what he can do. He makes some very high-level contested catches, exciting player. Najee Harris was excellent in the second half of the season. We saw him to be probably the most healthy he was, and he was excellent. Freiermuth, of course, one of the better tight ends in the league. Their offensive line vastly improved. Yes. It's Matt Canada. Is he going to draw up a good game plan for Kenny Pickett and company? I severely doubt it, but that has to be the biggest question, because if he doesn't, I would not be shocked to see him fired midseason.
Yeah, Matt Canada is the least creative play caller in the entire NFL. Defensively, they need everything because Cam Hayward's older. You have nothing at linebacker. Devin Bush, good riddance. And the secondary, he struggled. Miles Jack got benched Roberts Blay at the end of the season. Blay was better. And then also offensively, like TJ Watt and Najee are both injury prone. They have been the last 2 years. I think you need backup outside linebacker, maybe on another offensive lineman at left tackle. You need to upgrade left tackle pretty big time. And also for the Browns, they need to upgrade that front seven because they're going to run all over. That was embarrassing.
Their rush defense is atrocious, absolutely, no doubt. But my question is, you understand Nick Chubb is on the team, and you understand that Nick Chubb last year, for the first half, prior to Deshaun Watson playing, was arguably the best back in the game. Yeah. He was unbelievable. And then Deshaun comes, and it kind of ruins the flow of the offense, both passing and rushing, ironically. And then reports are coming out that they want to make this a Deshaun Watson offense. Understandably so. You just put $230 million invested to it. And then Nick Chubb is a potential candidate to be moved. What sense does this make when you just want to surround your quarterback with the most talent possible, and it's not necessary as of right now that you need to pay Nick Chubb? I understand that is a concern, especially with money that significant amount is being allocated to, of course, Deshaun Watson, Myles Garrett, and Ward also. So you want to be smart with how your money is being moved. But now Kareem Hunt is not going to be on your team. There's a strong chance that Kareem Hunt will walk. And now you're trying to get Nick Chubb in a situation where he is no longer on the team. Now you have to draft a running back, which of course is the most replaceable in the game. But Nick Chubb is still one of the premier backs in the game. It'd be a shame to not have him in that offense. So Deshaun needs to be better. That is the biggest question. Will he be better? But I am interested to see how they decide to run that offense, whether they decide to make it more Deshaun Watson oriented, which understandably so, or at least find a way to incorporate both Deshaun and Nick Chubb. And then the Bengals. The biggest question to me has to be that offensive line. It was great all season, and then suddenly it all collapses, and they have 3 injuries to the offensive line, and then back-to-back, well, let me not say back-to-back performance, because against the Bills, it did a great job of holding up, but against the Chiefs, it was clearly an issue. Where Joe Burrow was sacked, I believe, 4 times in the first half. He simply had no time to do anything. It's a matter of protecting Joe Burrow, protecting the franchise.
AFC South. The Jaguars tagged Evan Ingram, which was a great move.
It was.
Now that Calvin Ridley's back, you have Calvin Ridley, Christian Kirk, Zay Jones had a good season, and Evan Ingram. I think that's fantastic for them. They need a defensive back opposite of Tyson Campbell because they just cut Shaq Griffin.
Yep.
So they're going to need that. The Titans, they have to rebuild for me. Like, are they going to rebuild? It looks like they're not, but it feels like they're stuck in turmoil. Yeah. The Colts, who's the quarterback? Are they going to move up to get a Bryce Young? Are they going to stand pat? I feel comfortable in their direction given Steichen's track record. I think I'm comfortable with whoever they draft. And the Texans, It says, what do you address first? Do you address the quarterback position first? Who do you pair with that quarterback? I think those are all questions I have for them.
You want to hit it?
What the hell?
Dead air, man.
Bada boom, here we go. The Titans. Listen, man, a lot of questions with this Titans team. We just had a whole segment on them. I don't really know where this team is going. They are keeping Tannehill and Derek Henry, it seems now, so I guess they'll run it back, see what ends up happening. The Colts and the Texans, who's going to trade up to number one? I think it's the same thing for both of these teams. They obviously need a quarterback desperately in the same division, so they're kind of, it takes a lot less for the Texans to go from 2 to 1 than the Colts from 4 to 1, but you still have to think it's not exactly the same because the Bears know that, right? And the Bears know, listen, it's not going from 2 to 1 because we have your boys at number 4 calling us too. And then the Jaguars, I don't have a ton of questions about them. This is like the only team I left it blank for because I feel like most of anything, it's just keep developing the guys they have. Like their core, I feel like is pretty set with Trevor Lawrence, Ridley, Etienne, Christian Kirk. Defensively, they could keep, improving. But I think their core is really set. It's young, not paying a lot of guys, so the future's bright.
I say this. I don't think the Colts nor the Texans should trade up to number one. I think that is understood. The Bears are not selecting a quarterback. Yes, you understand the Texans and the Colts both need a quarterback. But if you're the Colts, the Cardinals are sitting at 3. They are not selecting a quarterback. Unless a team comes in and entertains the idea of trading up to 3 to leapfrog the Colts for a quarterback, which of course is possible. If I'm the Colts, I sit at 4. I don't trade future assets, and I trust the board. Because unless 2 teams are now trading in for number 1 and number 3 that are not us, then I can sit at 4 and I can still get either AR or Stroud. I firmly believe that. Apparently now there's conversation that AR could be going number 1 overall, which would be insane. That would be nuts. Then we really see how the Combine influences drafts. But if you're the Colts, you stay at 4, you understand that you trust the board, and don't allow your future assets to be tainted because right now you've already given up picks in the past and it's kind of screwed you over. Trust yourself, trust the board. You're at 4, you're in a good position to succeed. So if you're the Colts, in my opinion, yes, the biggest question is quarterback. I think they will address that need. So really the question now just becomes their weapons room. Who's going to play opposite of Michael Pittman? Are they going to be consistent enough? Jonathan Taylor's a savage, of course, but another question is the offensive line. They're one of the best pass pros that there were in the game, but this past season, they're extremely underwhelming. That's another question for me. The defense is not a question item a little bit. Titans, the question is, are they going to be tanking for Caleb Williams? Because this team is not good, in my opinion. You need to figure out what you're going to do offensively. You need to figure out what you're going to do as a team. What is the direction of your team? In my opinion, it needs to be restarting and starting with the franchise quarterback. Your ceiling with Ryan Tannehill has already been shown. The ceiling has been passed. So now let's look to create a new ceiling. In my opinion, that would be trying to attain the best quarterback possible in this upcoming draft. The Jaguars' biggest question mark to me, I still think that you can do more to protect Trevor Lawrence. The offensive line definitely did do a good job, but it is a matter of, are you going to re-sign these guys? Jawan Taylor, thank you very much. Are you going to, you need to protect the franchise. And yes, Trevor Lawrence is able to extend outside the pocket, extend plays. But again, I want to make sure that my guy is protected. With Calvin Ridley now coming back and being reinstated, you really don't have questions about his weapons room because Christian Kirk has already shown that he can be successful as a 1. He's shown that he can be successful as a 2 that he's shown in Arizona. And Calvin Ridley, yes, with a year off, there could be a little bit of rust. So then it allows leeway to either continue to run through Kirk, but then also they could complement each other.
Now, I have questions for the NFC teams.
Houston. Houston's the last team, but then, again, their biggest question mark is quarterback.
Yeah.
And upgrade that entire roster. They have a couple
and if you guys agree with my questions, we can just easily skim through this.
Okay.
So, in the NFC East, the Cowboys, what are they going to surround Dak Prescott with?
Correct.
Are they going to cut Zeke? They just tagged Tony Pollard, so he'll be back. So, you have him and CeeDee Lamb. I think they need somebody else added to this team. Dan Quinn's back, so the defense is going to be elite. It's the offense that worries me, and how do they look without Kellen Moore? The Eagles is, who do they bring back? They have a lot of free agents.
And re-signing Hurts.
Yes, but ultimately, their question marks are very minimal. The Giants, their biggest questions were answered.
They answered them.
You know, they just brought back Daniel Jones and they just put a non-exclusive tag on Saquon
I guess
Barkley.
now it comes to wide receiver.
Yeah.
Who's going to play wide receiver? Who's going to be on that defense of yours?
Commanders, they just tagged Deron Payne, and they do feel like a directionless team. And how much do they believe in Sam Howell? You know, is it bluff that's their starting guy?
It could be. Or is it tank job for Caleb?
NFC West, I look at the 49ers, Trey Lance or Brock Purdy. You know, what direction do they go in? The Rams, are they going into a full rebuild? We saw them cut Bobby Wagner. Jalen Ramsey is somebody that is on the trade block right now.
It's a crazy move.
The Cardinals is who's the quarterback while Collar is out.
Yeah.
You know, who is it going to be? Trace McSorley? Are they going to get a veteran like Jacoby Brissett? Third overall pick, do they trade back or do they select one of these game-changing defenders like a Will Anderson?
How will they build up that defense? Because that should be the other priority alongside Kyler.
And Seahawks is run defense. I think that's the biggest need for them. I think their pass defense is fine.
Real quick, just one thing on the Rams. Sean McVay didn't come back for a rebuild. So I know Robinson's on the trade block, Jalen Ramsey's on the trade block, but there'll be some moves, but I expect the Rams to also make moves to bring guys in because, you know, I find it hard to believe that they're just going to trade all their guys going to a rebuild. McVay just would have retired or stepped away.
I'd say a
Thank
competitive reset with Matthew Stafford. Where you get
Stafford
younger.
healthy, O-line, get that back to...
Stafford's like 35, though.
Yeah, around him, obviously. I don't think Baker's staying. I think Baker's going to sign with Miami.
Why?
I have a feeling.
Just a Miami guy.
I just have a feeling.
God, I have the
Pre-draft, he was on
Sneeze
Instagram
again.
Live, and I think he counted something in Miami or something like that.
The NFC North, I look
Everyone
at the
wants
Vikings.
to go to Miami.
Brian Flores
Bless you.
and the defense. Can Brian Flores fix that defense? I think that this draft is about the Vikings going all in on defense and just building that up. The Packers is the Jordan Love question. You know, how good is this guy going to be?
I think you just mean the quarterback question.
Yeah, no, Jordan Love, because we know that's their quarterback. So how good is J Love?
And the health
gonna
of
be?
Elton Jenkins plus David Bakhtiari with the ACLs.
The Lions, their defense. That's
No
really
doubt.
it. You know, they have Jared Goff, which everybody seems to be set on the franchise quarterback.
That's
for
what
them.
I'm saying.
It's just ridiculous.
Crazy.
Yeah, I know. It's
What's your
crazy.
You guys are
ceiling?
big Jared Goff guys.
I like Jared Goff. I think he did
Huge.
a fine job this season. He excelled. He exceeded expectations. That being said,
Go get Lamar.
if you have the opportunity to
I'm
get
gonna
Lamar
go.
Jackson,
That's the Lamar
you
team.
go and you do it.
That is Lamar team.
Come on.
The
I made a mistake
Bears
before.
is where's the help for Fields? So that's the question they have to answer.
And
Also, their
number one
defensive
pick.
line, like their defense, has a lot of work to do for Matt Eberflus.
They
The
lost
sa-
hella
the
games
same
by
way it
one
can be said
score.
for John Gannon and the Cardinals.
And I
With-
look,
Sorry, with the Vikings too, Lewis Cine and Andrew Booth hardly played last year. Getting those two
Got
guys
hurt.
back is going to be pretty big next year.
Facts.
in NFC South for three of the teams, it's just all quarterbacks: Panthers, Falcons, Bucks.
Except Saints.
Quarterback, yeah. Saints, it's salary cap. You know what? That's the huge question for me.
Alvin Kamara's regression
And Michael
too.
Thomas.
Yeah, if
And Michael
At
Thomas,
Thomas.
this point, Drew, Michael Thomas just like
I'm
an
not.
X factor.
I can't do it.
And with
I
Alvin
can't do it.
Kamara, he has taken a huge step back. Last 2 years, 3.7 yards to carry 4. I mean, it's not the same back. We see by
The
this
way
point,
you
year
want to
7.
criticize Austin Eckler is the way you should then criticize Alvin Kamara.
I
Because
didn't
they're
criticize
both-
Austin Eckler. I
You
just spoke
did
the truth.
criticize him. You did criticize him.
He doesn't have a good enough number 2.
So then should Alvin Kamara need a number 2?
Yeah.
Really? Alvin Kamara.
and they did have
Yes.
number 2 with him.
Davis
That was early in his year. That was early in his career.
Oh, yeah.
Mark Ingram too.
And then they said, Mark Ingram, you can go. We have Alvin Kamara.
This is a deep running back class. They could take one.
yeah, that's true.
Oh, no, but now they need to because you don't know what's going to happen.
Now, looking at some of these super chats, Caden Bass, do y'all watch every UFC pay-per-view or just every once in a while?
I watch the big ones.
I watch a good amount of them.
I do watch the big ones.
I watch a good amount of them.
After that Leon Edwards knockout, I'm getting into it every single time more and more. These
Yeah,
events
that
get better
Leon
and better.
Edwards fight was
That was
crazy.
huge in August.
That's up. I was going to say it's in 2 weeks.
Yeah, on March 18th.
Yeah.
Ray B goes, "What's up, fellas? Just want to say who dat? Big Saints fan." Ray B also says, "Also wanted to ask, what is the Saints ceiling now?" I think
First round exit.
Playoff win. No, they
I
could win a
think
playoff
10,
game.
10 plus wins.
11
playoff
in
They
that
win a playoff
division.
game.
11 wins.
But against who?
They could beat the Vikings.
Because I'm thinking off the top of my
Giants
I
won a playoff
guess.
game.
Giants.
I mean,
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
If the Giants go to playoff
What I
game,
mean
the
by
Saints
that-
definitely can win a playoff game.
What do you
They were not a good team. They had a great coach and a quarterback that overachieved.
keep sleeping, John? Keep fucking sleeping.
Caleb Belts, Lamar in the silver and black. It's happening.
Yeah.
I have terrible news for you.
I'll die.
Yeah.
It's not happening.
Now, Sean Courtney goes, shout out from Phoenix, on vacation, but still got to watch my favorite
Shout out to
podcast.
Love you.
Sean.
Going to my first NBA game to go tomorrow, Suns versus Thunder.
That is
Shavers
tough.
Fire
book.
game to go to.
Shout out to
tough.
Sean, man. Shout out
What
to
about
going to
KD?
your first NBA game.
I think Shay's back tomorrow.
Katie's going back home. Acknowledge it.
Are they in Phoenix?
I know. I thought he said Suns versus Thunder.
He is going to Suns versus Thunder.
But is it in Phoenix or is it in?
I'm guessing it's
Oklahoma.
Phoenix because he said he's on a vacation at Phoenix.
Oh, is that what
Oh,
you said? Oh yeah, no, most definitely in Phoenix.
Shout out to the super chat. Shout out to everybody for watching the show. This is going to do it for episode 261 of the Pickside Podcast. You can follow us on Twitter, Pickside Pod, on Instagram and TikTok at Pickside Podcast. Make sure to like the stream and give us a 5-star rating on Spotify or Apple, wherever you're listening to this right now. Next episode, Rookie Report, NBA.
Whatever star rating you think is appropriate for us, we would appreciate the 5. If you feel like we deserve 3 or 4, be honest with us.
Get the fuck out of here. Give us a 5-star rating.
GM San
If they
Antonio
made it
jersey
this
you
far,
want.
if they made it
Brent
this
as
far,
well.
they should give us a 5-star
They
rating.
should, no, if they listen to or
3 hours and 3 minutes.
come on,
It's a 5-star rating.
it's a 5-star.
Yeah. So make sure if you guys also want to support us more, you guys can join up on Mojo, invest in players, Boom Fantasy, player props, and join Athletic Greens. They got a sponsor. They got an offer for you guys right now that is very hard to pass up.
I need my re-up on AG1 to be honest with you, bro.
Yeah, I saw it.
I'm
Becoming
running
a
out.
routine, brother.
And also, we are going to be going on playback consistently now. So 2 to 3 times a week, we're going to be on playback watching NBA games. And, hopefully we see a lot of you guys in there. So if you guys want to go join that, the link is in our description as well. Thank you guys for listening and or watching, and we'll see you next time.